Chapter 439, Like I Said, a Fake. Chapter 439, Like I Said, a Fake. Why did she have to push Yi Yifei? Even if she had to, why did she have to knock over that long shelf full of antiques? Chowga was almost in tears. Yi Yifei glanced at Feng Wu with a half-smile. There had to be over 10,000 broken pieces here. There was no way she would be able to find the dozens of pieces that belonged to that whistling vase from the pile. Yi Yifei wasn't the only one who thought that way, so did all the onlookers. However, Feng Wu only crouched down and began rummaging through the pile. Soon, she picked out a piece of white porcelain. Chowga found a piece of cloth and lay it next to Feng Wu. Feng Wu put the broken piece on it. 1, 2, 3. Soon, Feng Wu found 18 broken pieces. Yi Yifei stared at Feng Wu. That's impossible. How did you do that? They can't be all from that vase. Feng Wu darted a quick glance at Yi Yifei. What do you know about antiques? That successfully shut Yi Yifei up. The others all looked at Feng Wu in disbelief. There had to be tens of thousands of broken pieces here, and all of them were white. How did she know which was which? No, she had to be picking at random. She would be so embarrassed when she tried to put them together. However, that wise-looking old man's eyes flickered. With his capability, he was able to detect something the others couldn't. Feng Wu saw some glue lying around and she put it to use. She stuck a piece of thin paper on the inside of one porcelain piece before sticking the other pieces onto it. Finally, she put everything on the base, and in under a minute, the whistling vase was put back together. It was intact, tidy, and looked as good as new. Mr. Mo's eyes widened. How was that possible? Feng Wu darted a glance at Mr. Mo in a careless way. Is this the so-called whistling vase made by Master Yue? Mr. Mo couldn't say no. The vase had been put together so perfectly that he had no reason to deny it. Yes, Mr. Mo said through gritted teeth. Sweat began trickling down the sides of his face. With the appraisal and repair skills Miss Feng had just demonstrated, there was no doubt that she was at the master level or above. Good. Feng Wu gave a nod. Holding Feng Wu's arm, Chowga burst into tears of joy and she hopped around. Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu. We don't have to pay for it. That's wonderful. Silly girl. Feng Wu hadn't even started yet and she was already over the moon. Mr. Mo stared at Feng Wu. That's right. This is Master Yue's whistling vase. But even when you've repaired it, it won't be as valuable as it was. Isn't that the case, Miss Feng? Feng Wu nodded. That is true if this was an authentic piece. Are you going to insist that this is a fake? Mr. Mo's face turned livid. Crossing her hands behind her back, Feng Wu said proudly, Of course it is. Fine, fine. Mr. Mo was so angry that he burst into laughter. Picking up the whistling vase, he called out to the crowd. I believe that everyone here are experts in antiques, and I wonder if someone could help us with the appraisal. I'll do it. An old man in a navy blue robe stepped out and went up to Mr. Mo. Master Bien. Someone cried out in surprise. The legendary Master Bien? Chapter 440, The One-Time Genius. Chapter 440, The One-Time Genius. Who's Master Bien? Why do you all know that name? Seriously? You don't know who Master Bien is? He's the master who took part in building Imperial College's essence-gathering formation. Mr. Mo's face lit up when he saw Master Bien. Master Bien, it's nice to see you here in elegant ink gallery again. Formations were related to antiques, which was why Master Bien was a frequent customer here. Crossing his hands behind his back, Master Bien nodded at Mr. Mo with a stern look on his face. He then turned to the whistling vase on the table. Before he said anything, his servant provided him with a pair of fine white gloves. The impassive expression still on his face, Master Bien put on the gloves before he picked up the vase. He then examined it inch by inch with a magnifying glass. All eyes were on Master Bien. Master Bien had helped build Imperial College's essence-gathering formation and was well known on the continent. He was a famous figure in both the formation and antique circles. His words were deemed authoritative. What do you think? Mr. Mo clenched his fists and looked at Master Bien nervously. Master Bien focused mainly on the signature on the base. Finally, he turned his sharp gaze on Feng Wu. The signature belongs to Master Yue and this isn't fake. Wow! Everyone looked at Feng Wu strangely after that initial exclamation. Especially Yi Yifei, who smirked at Feng Wu. Feng Wu, even Master Bien has confirmed that this whistling vase is authentic and that this is Master Yue's real signature. What else do you have to say? Mr. Mo put on a most aggrieved look. Miss Feng Wu, are you still going to insist that this vase is fake? Master Bien stared at Feng Wu with animosity. The wise-looking old man in the crowd looked even more intrigued. However, Feng Wu didn't seem bothered at all. There was something utterly confident about her when she smiled. Yes, it's a fake. By then, the others were staring at Feng Wu in disbelief. She denied it stubbornly even when Master Bien had drawn his conclusion. There was something wrong with this girl's character. Yi Yifei burst into laughter. I've never met anyone as shameless as you. Feng Wu, how can you be so disgusting? It won't turn into a fake just because you say so. Mr. Mo also smirked. Miss Feng, if you don't have that much money on you today, it won't be a problem. Everyone here are witnesses. I can go to the Feng clan to claim it. Even Master Bien was sneering at Feng Wu. He sighed and shook his head. I knew the one-time genius girl had fallen, but how could you have turned into this shameless person? What a pity! That was a very harsh thing to say. As an elderly master, he had made such a comment about Feng Wu, a teenage girl. One couldn't help but wonder what grudge he could have against Feng Wu. What he said inferred that it was Feng Wu's fault and made her a target. And many agreed with Master Bien. They pitted the one-time genius girl for the loss of her abilities. However, now that she had turned into this impudent girl, that pity turned into abhorrence right away. Chapter 441 All Hail Feng Wu. Chapter 441 All Hail Feng Wu. The wise-looking old man was the only one frowning at Master Bien. Feng Wu had no idea what was going on in the crowd. No matter how hard the others tried to smear her reputation, she wasn't intimidated at all. Darting a casual glance at Master Bien, she said unhurriedly, Master Bien, are you sure about your conclusion? Master Bien said arrogantly, Of course. On your reputation. Master Bien threw a dirty look at Feng Wu. A girl like this wasn't even qualified to talk to him on any given day. However, all eyes were watching and Master Bien had to reply in a condescending tone, Sure. Feng Wu smiled. Are you sure you don't want to examine it again? Your entire reputation is at stake. Ha ha ha, Master Bien snorted. That's ridiculous. You're questioning the judgment of Bien Yuliang. This whistling vase is authentic and I can guarantee it on my reputation. Smack! The next second, Feng Wu grabbed the whistling vase and smashed it onto Master Bien's head. It happened so suddenly that it took everyone by surprise. When they realized what had happened, they saw that Master Bien had a bloody cut on his head. The crowd was speechless. Looking at Master Bien, who stood there with a bloody forehead, and Feng Wu, who was as confident as ever, in turn, they didn't know how to react. Only then did Master Bien react to the attack, and he glared at Feng Wu. Crossing her hands behind her back, Feng Wu said in a cold, harsh tone, How can you miss that? You're a master-level formation master. Do you even know how to use your eyes? I should have dug out your eyeballs and fed them to the dogs, but I'm more merciful than that. Instead, I only borrowed your head. Feng Wu said it in a tone of a superior reprimanding their subordinate. Master Bien was speechless. So was everyone else. You, Master Bien glared at Feng Wu. I what? Feng Wu smirked. The only thing authentic about this whistling vase is the base. The rest of the vase was stuck on afterward. Only an imbecile like you would call the thing an authentic piece and endorse this elegant ink gallery. That Mr. Mo over there is making money and calling you an idiot in his head. The well-respected Master Bien couldn't stand Feng Wu's insult. Everyone was looking forward to seeing what Master Bien would do to Feng Wu now. However, the look on Master Bien's face changed abruptly. He turned around and stared at Mr. Mo. Mr. Mo was hesitating at that moment, and shaken by Master Bien's sudden stare. He couldn't hide that expression on his face quickly enough. That alarmed Master Bien. Without thinking, he crouched down, took out his magnifying glass, and examined the pieces inch by inch. He blanched right away. Turning to Mr. Mo, Master Bien asked, "What did you say the level of the formation in this whistling vase was?" Master level." Master Bien grabbed an antique bottle and smashed it against Mr. Mo's forehead. "A master-level formation? Don't make me laugh." Master Bien pointed at one of the broken pieces. "If that's really the case, why isn't there any trace left at the eye of the formation? Answer me." Well, well, a bitter taste filled Mr. Mo's mouth. He turned to Yi Yifei with a pleading look. How could he have anticipated that someone as inconsequential as Duan Chaoga would have such a capable friend? Mr. Mo thought that he had everything under control when he set the girl up with this fake piece. Just then. Chapter 442, Who's the Old Man? Chapter 442, Who's the Old Man? The onlookers felt like they were on a roller coaster ride. The reversal simply came too suddenly for them to digest. The looks they gave Feng Wu changed again. They forgot all about calling Feng Wu a shameless girl just moments ago. So, she had been right all along. That whistling vase was really a fake. Mr. Mo was selling fake antiques, and by the looks of it, he was doing it knowingly. Bamboozling innocent customers with fake pieces. His elegant ink gallery had no sense of shame at all. The crowd began to look the shop over with animosity. Everything Mr. Mo had bragged about became evidence against himself now, and even Yi Yifei looked embarrassed. They didn't know what to do. While Master Bien was questioning Mr. Mo, Feng Wu had fixed the broken whistling vase again. She clapped her hands. Done. Master Bien stared at Feng Wu in bewilderment. That's your priority? Fixing that fake piece when we're arguing about a much more pressing matter here? Would nothing fluster this girl? All eyes were on Feng Wu now. Feng Wu only smiled. Master Yu Wei's work is so sought after not because of how precious the actual pieces are, but because of the advanced formations in the whistling vases. The more advanced the formation in a whistling vase was, the better it could help with comprehending skills with the wind attribute. Master Bien and the others nodded. That's right. You're going to buy this with 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones? Feng Wu tossed that repaired whistling vase to Master Bien. Master Bien almost exploded. Since when had he agreed to that? Having been broken twice, this whistling vase was already rickety. There was no way that he could put any formation into it. Plus, having it around would only remind him of the humiliation he had suffered today. No, he wouldn't buy it. However, Feng Wu stood there proudly with a half-smile on her face. She then narrowed her eyes. Master Bien realized that the girl wouldn't cut him loose unless he made the purchase. Fine. I'll take it. Master Bien tossed a pouch to Feng Wu, grabbed the whistling vase, and turned to leave. Feng Wu watched as Master Bien walked out and called after him, "Say hi to Priest Wu for me." Priest Wu. The girl was an acquaintance of his master? No way. Master Bien didn't look back and only hurried off with the vase. He couldn't stand to stay here any longer. The room fell silent after Master Bien departed. Everyone looked at Feng Wu strangely. Feng Wu darted a look at Mr. Mo, which made his stomach lurch. The girl's gaze was as sharp as a cold blade, and it gave him the creeps. Feng Wu paid no attention to these people and left with Chowga. At the same time, Master Bien was walking away quickly with the whistling vase. The longer he looked at it, the more he wanted to toss it away. For it reminded him of how humiliated he had been in Elegant Ink Gallery. Master Bien, someone blocked his way. Looking up, Master Bien saw a wise-looking old man and an elderly steward. The steward was the one who stopped him. With an impassive face, the steward reached out to Master Bien. "I'd like to borrow that for a moment." Before Master Bien could reply, the vase was in the steward's hand. Chapter 443. You have no right to be so arrogant. Chapter 443. You have no right to be so arrogant. The elderly steward handed the vase to his master with great respect. Taking the whistling vase, the sagacious old man pressed a palm to the base and examined it with his spiritual essence. His eyes flickered. What an impressive formation! The girl had set it up with such dexterous hands, while chatting casually at the same time. Her formation skills were unfathomable. At that thought, the sagacious old man gave his steward a look. The elderly steward then tossed a bag of 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones to Master Bien. "We'll take this whistling vase. Off you go." Master Bien's eyes lit up. 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones was a considerable amount for him, and he was more than happy to trade this lousy vase for that much money. "Sure, of course," Master Bien agreed right away. The sagacious old man smirked as he watched Master Bien leave. "What a fool!" "Master," the old steward grimaced. "I think Miss Feng was going to send a message to his master with that vase." As it turned out, Master Bien was unlucky that way and had sold off such a precious vase just like that. Xiao Wu. Outside Elegant Ink Gallery, Chowga took Feng Wu's hand and her eyes glistened with tears. "Xiao Wu, I knew it. You're the best. You turned things around all by yourself, you surprised everyone, and you totally defeated Mr. M.O. Even Master Bien had to admit his failure and run away. Oh my God, Xiao Wu, you're awesome." Feng Wu looked at her childhood friend. The girl used to be a little more than skin and bones, but now... Before Feng Wu could ask about it, Yi Yifei spoke. "Feng Wu, that was unexpected. I didn't know you had such sharp eyes." Leaning against a column outside Elegant Ink Gallery's entrance, Yi Yifei looked Feng Wu up and down. "Although, appraising antiques and repairing them is all that you can do now, right? What else can you do? Can you cultivate? You're still a useless cripple." "Shut up!" Seeing Feng Wu being insulted made Duan Chowga feel more infuriated than being humiliated herself. Her chest heaved with anger. Feng Wu patted Duan Chowga on the shoulder, then turned to Yi Yifei with a calm face. Yi Yifei hadn't learned anything from her failed attempt to frame Chowga. Feng Wu had already forgotten about the girl, but she just wouldn't go away. Since Yi Yifei was so eager to have her face slapped again, Feng Wu was happy to oblige. "Miss Yi, how can I help you?" Feng Wu glanced at her. "It's nothing, really. I only have one question for you. Do you still remember Zhuo Qingluan, the girl who was less capable than you back then?" The girls and boys behind Yi Yifei roared with laughter at those words. Zhuo Qingluan was also born with true phoenix blood, but back then, she was nowhere near as famous as Feng Wu and hardly anyone knew about her. "Have you heard? Zhuo Qingluan is already a spiritual elder now," said Yi Yifei. "Whereas you, well, you don't have a speck of spiritual essence. How could you bring yourself to come back to the imperial capital at all? I would have hung myself if I were you, instead of asking to be humiliated here." "Shut up!" Chowga felt so sorry for Feng Wu, and she believed that Xiao Wu could only feel even more upset. She tried to jump at Yi Yifei, but Feng Wu stopped her. "Duan Chowga, you have no right to be so arrogant." Yi Yifei looked bemused. She then pointed at Feng Wu. Do you think Feng Wu will be able to protect you like she did when you were little? Even if she wants to, can she? Xiao Wu is the best. I won't allow you to insult her like this. Chowga was so enraged that the rims of her eyes turned red. Chapter 444 World Tower. Chapter 444 World Tower. Xiao Wu, let's go. Chowga took Feng Wu's hand and wanted to leave. These people weren't worth talking to. Duan Chowga, where are you going? Yi Yifei stared at Chowga with a half-smile, and stopped the latter in a casual tone. Didn't you agree to work as my maid for the day? You still have 2 more hours to go. Feng Wu turned to Chowga in bewilderment. Chowga almost burst into tears, but she managed to fight them back. She said to Feng Wu, Xiao Wu, you can go back. I'll catch up with you later. She could handle the humiliation, but she wouldn't let Xiao Wu be insulted like that. Feng Wu shook her head with a wry smile. She knew perfectly well what was going on in Chowga's head, and because of that, she wouldn't stand there and let Chowga be bullied. Chowga would be even more humiliated if she was asked about her weight in front of these people, so Feng Wu turned to Yi Yifei. What do you want? She knew that she was Yi Yifei's real target, not Chowga. Miss Feng Wu, that's very smart of you. Yi Yifei gloated and gestured with a wave of her hand. Follow me. The other boys and girls with Yi Yifei all giggled in satisfaction. Feng Wu used to be famous as His Royal Highness's one-time fiancé. Hence, humiliating her felt exceptionally satisfying. Sister Yifei, where are we going? Huoyin, Yi Yifei's minion, asked in excitement. Yi Yifei showed them an ornamental plate. Wait, that's an entrance card for World Tower, said Huoyin in an agitated tone. And it's the one to the 6th floor. That's right, Yi Yifei said in a matter-of-fact tone. It belongs to my father and he can enter the 6th floor with it. However, the owner's children have to move a floor down, so we can only go as high as the 5th floor. The 5th floor. Wen Ling, another of Yi Yifei's minions, pressed her hands to her chest. World Tower is so hard to get into. Even the 1st floor requires a person to be a 7th-ranked official or the owner of a medium-sized business. Huoyin added, plus, the entrance card only applies to immediate family. Uncles can't lend theirs to their nieces. She gave Feng Wu a contemptuous glance when she said those words. Feng Yanfeng, a 3rd-ranked official, held the highest position in the Feng clan. Unfortunately, he was Feng Wu's uncle, not father. Let's go. Yi Yifei had come up with a number of ways to make Feng Wu miserable. She hadn't said anything for a couple of minutes because she was trying to decide which method she would use first. Or should she use them all at once? Seeing that Feng Wu was going to follow the group, Chowga tugged at her sleeve in a hurry. Xiao Wu, don't. Feng Wu tilted her head and looked at Chowga. Chowga shook her head repeatedly. However, Feng Wu only smiled at her. Why not? Let's go. Yi Yifei darted a contemptuous look at Feng Wu. Poor yokel. If only you knew that His Royal Highness is the owner of World Tower. She could foresee a party where everyone would have so much fun humiliating Feng Wu. Yi Yifei presented her plate at the entrance to World Tower. Miss Yi, welcome to Dancing Floor. Each of World Tower's floors had its own name, and the 5th was known as Dancing Floor. A teenage girl with lithe and graceful movements led them all the way up to Dancing Floor. World Tower was as incredible as it was said to be. The head waitress was exceptionally attractive and looked as pretty as Yi Yifei and the other young ladies. However, despite how pretty she was, no one dared to take liberties with her. Even flirtatious words were off limits. Chapter 445 Inky Rain. Chapter 445 Inky Rain. Because this was World Tower. His Royal Highness's World Tower. Yi Yifei frowned. Yen Yu, is Moon Room taken? Yen Yu nodded slightly. Yes. What about Pine? That's taken as well. Yen Yu glanced at Yi Yifei. Inky Rain is the only left. Miss Yi, are you going to take it? World Tower was the only place that dared to treat its customers in this manner. Yi Yifei had put on airs in front of Feng Wu, but she couldn't even raise her voice to a waitress of World Tower. The person behind World Tower was simply too powerful for anyone to defy. Inky Rain Room. The private room was as wide as several hundred square meters. Tables were set on the left side and customers could entertain themselves however they wanted. Rush cushions were scattered around on the floor on the right side of the room, and a painting known as Inky Rain hung on the wall. Other than those, there was nothing on that side of the room. The right side was as tranquil as it was boisterous on the left side. The left side was for mundane activities and the right for cultivation. The difference was as stark as yin and yang. Let's eat. We'll go study Inky Rain afterward. Yi Yifei gestured at her friends to sit down. Her gaze shifted to Chowga and she was going to ask Chowga to stand behind her like a maid, but Feng Wu acted first and pressed Chowga down in a chair. Chowga, take a seat. Yi Yifei smirked. She hadn't even started yet. Well, sit all you want. Let's see how long you can keep your seat. Feng Wu and Chowga sat at one corner of the table. Yi Yifei was enjoying her conversation with her friends. They were obviously shutting out Feng Wu and Chowga, but Feng Wu couldn't care less. Sister Yifei, you said you were going to tell us great news. What is it? Huyin played along. Yi Yifei glanced at Feng Wu with a gloating smile. It's not settled yet, but I'm sure I'll get that manor. Which manor? Wen Ling asked curiously. Well, I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that's what Qingluan told me about it in a letter. She said that the manor had great feng shui and was perfect for cultivation. So, she said she had to have it. So, you're not buying it, but Sister Zhua is? Lu Hao asked in excitement when he heard Zhua Qingluan's name. That's right. It's going to be Sister Zhua's house, and I'm only buying it on her behalf. Yi Yifei switched to a mysterious tone. Can you guess which manor it is? Which one? All her friends asked curiously. Feng Wu, aren't you curious? Yi Yifei stared at Feng Wu with a half-smile. Grand Secretary Feng's manor was right next to the Feng manor and only a wall away from Feng Wu's fallen star yard. How angry and scared would Feng Wu be if she knew that's what Qingluan was going to become her next-door neighbor? Yi Yifei was greatly satisfied by the thought. Who could have expected that the haughty, aloof Feng Wu would one day live under such conditions, ha ha. Feng Wu glanced at Yi Yifei casually. Nope. Yi Yifei snorted. You'll cry your eyes out after the purchase goes through. Feng Wu shrugged indifferently. However, she was secretly alarmed. Feng Wu had thought that Yi Yifei was the other bidder and hadn't taken the competition too seriously. But Zhua Qingluan? If that was the case, would Feng soon be influential enough? Should she ask for Lady Northern Feng instead? Feng Wu pondered the matter. Then, Yi Yifei and her friends. Chapter 446, The Marvelous Feng Wu. Chapter 446, The Marvelous Feng Wu. Feng Wu, aren't you a little bit worried about what you did in Elegant Ink Gallery? Seeing that Feng Wu was unaffected by the mention of Zhua Qingluan, Yi Yifei brought up young Master Mu instead. Why should I be? Feng Wu said light-heartedly. Yi Yifei snorted. Young Master Mu owns the eastern side of the city, and he's on friendly terms with people from both the legal and lawless world. Even the governor of the imperial capital addresses him as Young Master Mu with great respect. Mentioning your connection with Young Master Mu can get you out of any trouble on the eastern side of the city. He's the boss behind Elegant Ink Gallery. Feng Wu, you've just offended him. Lu Hao frowned. I met Young Master Mu once. He's about our age, but why is he doing so much better than us? Mu Qing said. He has a father who is a lord. Do you? Lu Hao rubbed his chin. You have a point. I guess a lot of things are decided before you're even born. Yi Yifei snapped. It has nothing to do with his family. That title is the only thing Lord Mu has, and there's very little he can do to help his son. Young Master Mu's 5 older brothers are as ordinary as the next guy, and the only reason he's doing so well is because… Yi Yifei dropped her voice to a whisper. It's because he's young Lord Feng's friend. Young Lord Feng? Sister Yifei, are you referring to young Lord Feng Sun? Huayin and Wen Ling exchanged looks, and both saw excitement in each other's eyes. As in young Lord Feng, the most famous playboy of the imperial capital? Lu Hao was equally excited. Yi Yifei nodded. That's right. Young Lord Feng is so well connected. Huayin and Wen Ling were very interested in Feng Sun, and they immediately asked, "What's young Lord Feng like? Is he handsome?" Yi Yifei didn't know Feng Sun that well, and she had only met young Master Mu a few times. Friends of the Crown Prince didn't socialize with commoners like Yi Yifei. However, Yi Yifei assumed an enigmatic air. Of course he's handsome. He's one of the handsome 4 of the imperial capital, and he can be nothing but stunning. Feng Wu was busy eating her meal while rolling her eyes inwardly. Stunning my ass. Even a pig looked better than little Feng Sun's bruised face. Wow! Huayin and Wen Ling were impressed. Young Lord Feng must be so smart and so wise. Yi Yifei nodded repeatedly. Of course. Young Lord Feng is so smart that he can do anything. Feng Wu was speechless. Feng Sun? So smart? There would be no idiots left in this world if that goofball could be considered smart. Is young Lord Feng very capable in his cultivation? Yes. He's incredible. I heard that his capability is unfathomable. Feng Wu thought, your unfathomable young Lord Feng is probably getting beaten to a pulp by Jun Lin Yuan as you speak. Feng Wu put down her chopsticks. The intelligent, capable, invincible Feng Sun these people were talking about didn't sound like the same Feng Sun she knew. Young Lord Feng is too superior for us to even fantasize about. What about young Master Mu? Then, Yi Yifei started lavishing praise on Mu the Sixth. Feng Wu couldn't take it anymore. She led Chaoga to the other side of the room to look at Inky Rain. She couldn't leave for another 2 hours, and she had to find something for her and Chaoga to do. Give me your hand. After sitting Chaoga down on a rush cushion, Feng Wu took another one and sat down next to her. Feng Wu was as excellent a doctor as she always was. Examining Chaoga closely, she drew her conclusions in less than 5 minutes. Chapter 447, Who Poisoned You? Chapter 447, Who Poisoned You? Do you gain weight even from drinking water? Feng Wu asked. Yes. Chaoga felt like crying when the subject was brought up. Xiao Wu, I'm not a glutton. There was this time when I starved myself for 3 days, but afterward I weighed 3 kilograms more. How can such a horrible thing happen? In the past few years, every time I went on a diet, I ended up gaining more weight. Sometimes I feel that there's no point in living like this. Chaoga had been living in a nightmare in the past 5 years since Feng Wu left. And you made no progress in your cultivation. Not only that, your cultivation level has dropped. Feng Wu frowned. Xiao Wu, Chaoga burst into tears. I don't know why, but after you left, instead of making any progress every time I cultivated, my level would drop. In the end, I just stopped altogether, for the harder I tried, the faster I slid backward. It was horrible. Am I cursed? Chaoga had been living under a lot of stress. Things wouldn't be so bad if her family was a peaceful and warm one, but hers was like a battlefield, and more drama went on there than in the Feng manor. It's not a curse, but a poison. Feng Wu fought back her anger. It's known as degenerative powder, which not only makes you gain weight, but causes your cultivation level to drop. That sounds like such a potent poison, but who would do that to me? Chaoga asked in confusion. Feng Wu's eyes flashed. You came to see me off before I left the imperial capital. Did you drink anything that day? Well, Chaoga might forget a lot of things, but she remembered every moment she spent with Feng Wu. I remember that I was thirsty and I saw a bowl of water on your table, so I drank it. Was it sweet and sour and tasted like almond? Yes. Chowga cried out. Xiao Wu, how do you know that? If I'm guessing right, it was meant for me. Feng Wu closed her eyes. If Chowga hadn't drunk it, either her beautiful mother or herself would have. What? Chowga couldn't bring herself to imagine Xiao Wu as a butterball the way she was now. I'm so glad that I drank it instead. I'm so glad that I drank it instead. Feng Wu took a deep breath. After suffering from the poison for 5 years, the first thing Chowga said when she learned the truth wasn't a complaint, but that she was glad that she had taken Feng Wu's place as the victim. Feng Wu felt so blessed to have such a good friend. Don't worry. I have the antidote for it, Feng Wu said in a solemn tone. Chowga beamed at her. I know Xiao Wu can do it. Nothing in this world could stop Xiao Wu. That was how confident Chowga was about Feng Wu. Feng Wu gave Chowga a wry smile. With so many people she needed to protect, she had no choice but to work harder and become stronger. With a wave of Feng Wu's hand, a dot of pale green light entered Chowga's forehead between her eyebrows. Feng Wu let out a breath of relief when she saw Chowga begin to absorb that dot of light. Looking up, Feng Wu observed inky rain hanging on the wall. It was a painting of inky dots splattered all over a piece of white paper, and there didn't seem to be a pattern to them. Those two are so dumb. Seeing Feng Wu and Chowga sitting in front of inky rain in a trance-like state, Yi Yifei spoke in a taunting voice. Chapter 448 Senior Brother Jun Linyuan. Chapter 448 Senior Brother Jun Linyuan. They haven't received enlightenment, have they? Huyin was concerned. When Ling said grumpily, Feng Wu has lost her abilities, hasn't she? Her making progress in cultivation? Are you kidding me? What about Duan Chowga? Huyin looked alarmed. 5 years ago, Chowga used to follow Feng Wu everywhere and she was a genius herself as well. She was that close to the spiritual grandmaster stage even then. That was true. Feng Wu had been brilliant 5 years ago and Chowga, her friend, was also a well-known figure. Duan Chowga had been qualified to enter Imperial College when she was only 8. How talented she must have been! Yi Yifei smirked. Feng Wu is a cripple and Duan Chowga's cultivation level has continued to drop. So what if they see something in inky rain? Do you think they'll be able to make any progress? Ha 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 ha. Everyone looked at the pair of girls in contempt. Huyin frowned. Although that inky rain is so difficult to read. How are we supposed to learn anything from it? I've looked at it 100 times and I still don't get it, let alone been enlightened. It makes my head dizzy every time. When Ling nodded. That's right. I thought I could use it to improve my cultivation level a little before the entrance exam for Imperial College. That way, I'd have a better chance of getting in. Sister Yifei is so awesome. She got in last year already. Of these teenagers, Yi Yifei was the only one who had gotten into Imperial College. Yi Yifei said, You've all become level 9 spiritual masters after shoring up your cultivation for a year. Don't worry. I'm sure all of you will get in this time. Huyin took Yi Yifei's arm. Sister Yifei, can you talk us through the entrance exam of Imperial College? Yi Yifei said grumpily, Haven't you guys taken the exam once already? I know you all failed last year, but have you forgotten all about it already? Fine, I'll talk you through it. She said in a gloating yet reluctant voice, The entrance examination of Imperial College has a literary component and a martial component. The total score is 1,000, with the literary component taking up 300 and the martial component 700. Only the top 1,000 candidates for the literary exam will qualify to take the martial exam. You all still remember that? Yes. Everyone nodded. Yi Yifei said, You know what? You know all this already. Here's what I have for you. Get into Imperial College, and you'll find a brand new world. Your life will be lifted to a whole new level. You may find the most unattainable figures there as your classmates. Imperial College's essence-gathering formation is immensely helpful for your cultivation. Everyone is ranked at Imperial College, and you'll be motivated to work harder by all the competitors. Most important of all, young Lord Feng is a nominal student of Imperial College. Even His Royal Highness, the respected Crown Prince of our empire, is a nominal student of Imperial College. We address him as senior brother in private. Wow! The others covered their mouths in excitement. His Royal Highness? His Royal Highness? That's right. Yi Yifei nodded. Of course, we only use it among ourselves, and His Royal Highness will only ignore us if we address him like that in front of him. But at least, that's quite an intimate form of address, isn't it? I have to get into Imperial College this year. Eyes sparkling, Huayin made a fist. The others did the same. To them, the Crown Prince and his friends were too out of reach. Chapter 449 Xiao Wu is incredible. Chapter 449 Xiao Wu is incredible. Feng Wu frowned. Those people were so loud. As she stared at Inky Rain, the dots splattered all over the paper seemed to turn into tadpoles, which made her dizzy, and she had to turn her gaze away. But Feng Wu found a pattern before long. She realized that staring at the entire painting would make her head swim. However, if she focused on a single dot, it would begin to expand. And she could see something resembling a film reel in that. In it, a man was performing swordplay. That was it. This Inky Rain contained a set of stances known as Inky Rain swordplay. Once she figured that out, Feng Wu began to search for the right sequence to the stances. There were 36 stances in total, and they were scattered randomly throughout the painting. Soon, Feng Wu figured out the right order. Found anything yet? Feng Wu asked Chaoga, who was staring at the painting with a blank face. Chaoga turned to Feng Wu in bewilderment. No. They were just inky blobs, weren't they? And someone just splashed them everywhere, hadn't they? What more was she supposed to find in the painting? Chaoga thought she was going to get a headache. Feng Wu was speechless. Seeing Feng Wu's frown, Yi Yifei thought that the latter was angry because she couldn't figure out the painting. She snorted. The most important reason why people go crazy over World Tower is the existence of these paintings in the private rooms. It's said that each painting is a manual for a set of martial art stances. Those who can figure them out will greatly benefit from them. If one gets an epiphany in World Tower because of the paintings on the wall, they'll be rewarded by World Tower. Moreover, they stand a chance of being recruited by the Imperial Guards and becoming His Royal Highness's personal guard. There was a person who had an epiphany in Moon Room next door and got into the Imperial Guards after being evaluated by the General of the Imperial Guards. Oh God! His Royal Highness's personal guard? Huayin and the others covered their mouths and cried out in surprise. Working for His Royal Highness was something they didn't even dare to imagine. If I can see His Royal Highness once in my life with my own eyes, I'll die with a smile on my face. Huayin took a deep breath. Yi Yifei thought grumpily, I want the same thing, okay? I'd totally pass out if I can see His Royal Highness. Feng Wu smacked her forehead, speechless. These people just wouldn't shut up. How annoying. She could only whisper something in Chaoga's ear. Chaoga's eyes lit up. Really? Is that true? Feng Wu nodded. I've suppressed the degenerative powder toxin in your body. What you need to do now is improve your cultivation, transform the toxin into spiritual energy, and use it for yourself. That way you'll make progress very soon. Having been suppressed for so many years, Chaoga would make a frightening leap in her cultivation once she made progress. Chaoga nodded in excitement. Yes, yes. She felt much closer to Feng Wu than to her biological sisters at home. Feng Wu had saved her life when she was little and Chaoga had made up her mind then, As long as she lived, she would do anything for Feng Wu. She knew it. Xiao Wu was incredible. Xiao Wu was the best. Xiao Wu had solved the problem that had nagged Chowga for years, as if it was nothing. Xiao Wu had to be a fairy who had descended to the moral world, one that could turn stone into gold, Chowga thought cheerfully to herself. Seeing that Feng Wu had closed her eyes and entered a state of meditation, Chowga closed her eyes as well. She had lost track of time when, "Hey, Duan Chowga, are you really cultivating now? Aren't you afraid that your level is going to drop again?" Yi Yifei smacked Chowga's shoulder with an open palm as she spoke. Just then. Chapter 450, Has Inky Rain Really Helped Her? Chapter 450, Has Inky Rain Really Helped Her? Just then, Duan Chowga shuddered violently. P-ch-ch. A sound of something deflating came out of Chowga. And it went on and on. She was releasing gas. It caught Yi Yifei right in the face and she was dumbfounded. Cough, cough, wretch. Yi Yifei was so disgusted that she threw up. Huyin and the others also covered their mouths and noses and rushed out of the room. That stinks. Holy crap. Has Duan Chowga saved all that for 5 years before farting all at once? Is she trying to kill someone with it? That gas has to be toxic. Once they were out in the corridor, they threw up everything they had eaten. The clamor in Inky Rain Room even startled the waitress a short distance away. Yen Yu, the waitress for Inky Rain Room, arrived at the scene with a frown. What's going on? Yen Yu asked coldly. Yi Yifei gestured at the room. Miss Yen Yu, I'm so glad you're here. There are 2 people releasing toxic gas in there. We don't know how they got in. Please take them away. Yen Yu frowned and stared at Yi Yifei with brooding eyes. Someone is really releasing toxic gas in there. Miss Yen Yu, will it ruin the painting? It was said that each of the paintings in the building contained a set of sword stances, and some even said that His Royal Highness had created the paintings himself. No one could afford to have them damaged. Yen Yu could act as arrogantly as she wanted in front of Yi Yifei, but that painting was worth 100 times more than her own life. She pushed the door open and entered the room at once. However, Yen Yu found no such toxic gas when she walked in. She only saw 2 girls sitting cross-legged with their eyes closed in front of Inky Rain. They were cultivating. World Tower's rules stipulated that no one was to be disturbed while they were cultivating. Yen Yu was about to back out of the room when Yi Yifei rushed in. Miss Yen Yu, the gas is really toxic. And those 2. Where's that gas you were talking about? Yen Yu cast a stern look at Yi Yifei. What? Yi Yifei was dumbfounded when she looked inside. Duan Chowga had farted for so long just then, and the smell was abominable. But now, nothing seemed to be out of place. What Yi Yifei didn't see was a tiny tiger in Feng Wu's sleeve, which seemed to be drunk on self-satisfaction at that moment. Yen Yu cast a stern look at Yi Yifei and said in a cold voice, Miss Yi, as a young lady from a respectful family, you should be more discreet in your behavior. Making a scene like that is highly inappropriate. A waitress was lecturing her now? Had it been some other place, Yi Yifei would have erupted with rage by now. However, this was World Tower and she didn't dare cross the line one bit. Her only option was to accept the reprimand. Sorry. Yen Yu turned to leave. However, Yi Yifei turned to look at the 2 friends, and to her surprise. Shit. Duan Chowga, who had to weigh around 100 kilograms before, now looked only 75 kilograms. She had lost 25 kilograms of her weight by releasing all that toxic gas. What did that mean? Had Inky Rain really helped her? Despite her reluctance, Yi Yifei had to recognize the fact that Duan Chowga had learned something from the painting, or she would never have eliminated all that toxin and lost so much weight. She then realized that she had brought Duan Chowga here herself to humiliate the latter. As it turned out, she had helped the girl instead. Yi Yifei almost had a heart attack. Miss Yen Yu. Yi Yifei called after the graceful waitress. Chapter 451, The Feng Wu He Knew? Chapter 451, The Feng Wu He Knew. The cold, arrogant waitress stopped, turned around, and eyed Yi Yifei impatiently. Summoning up her courage, Yi Yifei gestured at Feng Wu and Duan Chaoga. I don't know who they are and I have no idea how they got in. Miss Yenyu, please kick them out. Yenyu stared at Yi Yifei as if the latter was out of her mind. I'm not blind. Weren't you the one who brought them in? They were making quite a lot of noise over here in Inky Rain Room, which caught the attention of people in Moon Room and Pine Room, and they came out to look. At this hour of the day, the adults were all at work and most of the customers here were their kids. Why, isn't it Yi Yifei? A teenager stuck his head out of Moon Room. He was Jin Yuntao, the son of the Commander-General of the Imperial City. The children of the owner of an entrance card could only gain access to the floor one level below what the owner could enter, which meant that Jin Yuntao's father was a third-ranked official as well, but a military officer. Jin Yuntao and Yi Yifei both went to Imperial College, but the two of them had been enemies since they were little. Seeing Yi Yifei's predicament, Jin Yuntao's first reaction was to laugh at her. Yi Yifei threw a dirty look at Jin Yuntao and ignored him. She said to Yenyu, Miss Yenyu, I don't know who those people are, they just snuck in after us. I thought World Tower didn't allow uninvited people inside. Yi Yifei thought that Duan Chaoga had only been pretending at first, so she hadn't thought much of it. However, Duan Chaoga had just lost 25 kilograms like a deflating balloon in front of her eyes. That was so frightening. Yi Yifei wouldn't be so worried if Duan Chaoga was on her own, but Feng Wu was with her. After all, Feng Wu used to be such an unbelievable genius. What if she learned something from Inky Rain and got her abilities back? The more Yi Yifei thought about it, the more flustered she became. She had to throw Feng Wu out. Yenyu frowned. Something like this had never happened before. Are you sure you don't know them? Yes. I have no idea how they got in. Yi Yifei confirmed. Yenyu nodded. Fine, I can throw them out, but cultivators are not to be disturbed, and I can only do that after they finish. What? I don't believe this. Yi Yifei couldn't bear the thought of Feng Wu getting an epiphany here. It would be worse than killing her. Yenyu ignored her completely and left. Yi Yifei was speechless. Fine. World Tower won't do anything about it? I'll do it myself. Feng Wu, get out of here. Pissed, Yi Yifei charged into the room and reached for Feng Wu's head. She was going to grab Feng Wu's hair and drag her out. Jin Yuntao didn't pay much attention at first, and he was going to go back to Moon Room to resume his cultivation. After all, it was quite expensive to rent a room in World Tower. But what did he hear? Feng Wu. As in the Feng Wu he knew. Xiao Wu was back in the imperial capital. Yi Yifei's hand was almost on Feng Wu's head when Jin Yuntao rushed in, grabbed Yi Yifei by the shoulder, and asked in a cold voice, What did you just call her? None of your business. Jin Yuntao, get lost. Yi Yifei tried to push Jin Yuntao out of the room. However, Jin Yuntao was close enough to see Feng Wu's profile, which he found quite familiar. He then ran to the other side to look at Feng Wu from the front. Chapter 452. How dare you bully Xiao Wu? Chapter 452. How dare you bully Xiao Wu? He had heard right. It really was Feng Wu. Yi Yifei was going to grab Xiao Wu's hair? How dare she? Feng Wu had saved his life once. Jin Yuntao flared up. Yi Yifei, how dare you do that to Xiao Wu? Yi Yifei smirked. Xiao Wu? I didn't know you two were that close. Well, she's useless now and I can do whatever I want to her. Get out of my way. After that, Yi Yifei darted a look at Huyin. Do it. Both Jin Yuntao and Yi Yifei got into Imperial College last year and were on par in strength, which was why Yi Yifei could fend off Jin Yuntao. Stop it! Jin Yuntao was exasperated. However, he hadn't come here alone. He had brought 2 classmates with him today. They were his roommates Yi Zhou and Yuan Ming. Neither of the 2 were locals of the imperial capital. They were from other provinces and their families were less well off than Jin Yuntao's. But Jin Yuntao had brought them to Moon Room with him, which showed how close the 3 of them were. As expected, the 2 teenagers rushed over and shielded Feng Wu and Duan Chaoga from Yi Yifei. Yi Yifei was furious. That damn Jin Yuntao. Yi Zhou and Yuan Ming were Jin Yuntao's classmates from Imperial College as well as hers. Needless to say, Huayin and the other 3, who had yet to get into Imperial College, weren't their match at all. Yi Yifei was too exasperated to say a word. She had brought Feng Wu and Duan Chaoga here to humiliate the pair, but now she was getting bullied herself. Yi Zhou, Yuan Ming, are you 2 idiots? I'm from an influential family of the imperial capital. How dare you 2 provincial yokels do this to me? You're biting off more than you can chew. Yi Zhou's and Yuan Ming's fathers were local officials or business owners who were famous figures in their own provinces. However, they were nobodies in a place like the imperial capital. Seeing the 2 teenagers hesitate at her words, Yi Yifei smirked. Get out of my way! Jin Yuntao snorted. I'll take full responsibility for what happens here today. Yi Yifei, you're not doing anything to Xiao Wu. Go to hell. Yi Yifei and Jin Yuntao clashed with each other. However, they were only able to exchange one blow. Smack! They were separated by a single sweep of a hand. Yan Yu showed up out of nowhere, taking Yi Yifei in one hand and Jin Yuntao in the other. The next second, both teenagers were tossed onto the floor, and Yan Yu said in a cold voice, "Fighting is forbidden in World Tower and the entrance cards for both your families will be downgraded by 1 floor. Questions?" Yi Yifei and Jin Yuntao glared at each other, but both were equally petrified. They had managed to get into Imperial College after a highly competitive exam. They thought they were quite capable cultivators already. But as it turned out, even a waitress on the 5th floor of World Tower could handle them as if they were chickens. Jin Yuntao lowered his head first. No! Despite her burning hatred, Yi Yifei could only grit her teeth. No! Yan Yu snorted. Everyone out. You're all banned from World Tower for 3 months. Now? Yi Yifei was so frustrated. Her plan hadn't even started yet and Feng Wu had yet to be punished by young Master Mu. As part of her plan, Yi Yifei had gotten someone to tell young Master Mu about what had happened in Elegant Ink Gallery, and that Feng Wu was in World Tower at the moment. Young Master Mu should thus be arriving shortly. Chapter 453 Gosh. I've made progress. Chapter 453 Gosh. I've made progress. Young Master Mu would humiliate Feng Wu severely and word would get out. After that, Feng Wu would be so thoroughly discredited that she would wish she were dead. Yi Yifei had everything planned out, but she didn't know that things rarely went as planned. This Jin Yuntao just decided to pop out of nowhere, and he had almost ruined everything for her. Yi Yifei darted a look at Huayin. Huayin nodded and slipped away. She needed to find young Master Mu ASAP. Feng Wu had to be punished here, where they would have the largest audience and attract the most attention. Yi Yifei stalled. Fine, we'll leave. But shouldn't they leave as well? Yi Yifei pointed at Feng Wu and Duan Chaoga. Yan Yu frowned. Yi Yifei said, they snuck in without an entrance card. If they aren't punished for this, other people will copy them and World Tower's rules will be as good as empty words. Silence. Yan Yu cast a stern look at Yi Yifei. Yi Yifei's stomach lurched, but she was delighted. She would insist that she didn't know Feng Wu and that the latter had snuck in. I know them. Jin Yuntao smirked at Yi Yifei. I invited them here. You, Yi Yifei glared at Jin Yuntao. What? You got a problem? Jin Yuntao snickered. The 2 of them were going to start fighting again when... Rumble! The entire inky rain room shook slightly. Everyone turned to look at the two girls sitting there cross-legged. That was. As it turned out, Duan Chaoga was the first to speak. OMG. I can't believe this. Looking down, Chaoga saw that the enormous dress that used to stretch tightly around her body had become loose. Then, she realized that her body and limbs were much slimmer. Oh God! Shit! Chaoga jumped to her feet, spun around, and burst into tears of joy. I've lost weight. I'm thinner. Sob. God knew how desperate she had been during the past 5 years because of her weight. The more she tried, the fatter she became. There were times when she had wanted to kill herself. Although she was still overweight, it was so much better than before. Xiao Wu. Chaoga wanted to wrap her arms around Xiao Wu and cry for 3 days in a row. Xiao Wu was her angel. Turning around, Chaoga saw the astonished looks on the faces of the others. Ha! I've lost weight. I have. Yi Yifei, didn't you say that I'd never be able to do it? Well, I did. Resting her hands on her waist, Chaoga raised her chin. Is that your priority? Yi Yifei felt like crying. You leveled up? Yi Yifei asked tentatively through gritted teeth. She hoped that Duan Chaoga's answer would be no. Only then did Chaoga realize something. All her attention had been on her weight loss, and she hadn't examined her own cultivation level. Chaoga had reached level 9 when she was 8, but had dropped to level 6 in the past 5 years. No way! Chaoga cried out in surprise. I'm level 7 now. I've made progress. Finally! Going backward was much worse than remaining stagnant. After all these years, Chaoga was finally moving forward in her cultivation again. 1 level wasn't enough, but it meant that Chaoga was back on track. Oh God! I'm a level higher. I can't believe it. Chaoga jumped around in excitement. Chapter 454 – An Invitation to the Imperial Guards. Chapter 454 – An Invitation to the Imperial Guards. Xiao Wu was such an angel. Becoming Xiao Wu's friend had to be the luckiest and happiest thing to happen to her. Sob Xiao Wu. Chaoga burst into tears of excitement. Meanwhile, Yi Yifei and her friends looked at one another with bitter regret. Had they known that coming to World Tower would lead to Duan Chaoga's breakthrough, they would never have brought her here. It was so frustrating. What infuriated Yi Yifei more was that Yen Yu, who had been so arrogant, went up to Duan Chaoga with an appreciative smile. Miss Duan. Yes. Your age, please. 13. Yen Yu smiled even more broadly. Miss Duan, you're the 3rd cultivator who has ever comprehended Inky Rain. Would you like to join the Imperial Guards? Rumble. Yi Yifei thought her head was going to explode. Duan Chaoga was invited to join the Imperial Guards. Those were His Royal Highness's personal guards. Jun Li Nguyen's personal guards. Talk about a meteoric rise. No matter how prestigious or respected a family was, no one could bribe their kids' way into the Imperial Guards. Because His Royal Highness had said, the only thing that qualified a person for the Imperial Guards was their capability. Families and connections meant nothing. Hence, talented young people all over the continent were accepted into the Imperial Guards and worked for His Royal Highness. Many graduates of Imperial College applied for the Imperial Guards, but even for them, the possibility of getting in was quite low. However, those that did get in would start off as a low-ranked military officer at the very least. Imperial College took in 100 new students each year, but the Imperial Guards only recruited 10 new members at most. One could only imagine how valuable a position in the Imperial Guards was. And that explained why Yi Yifei was so full of regret now. Even Jin Yuntao looked at Duan Chaoga enviously. Joining the Imperial Guards wouldn't interfere with one's studies at Imperial College. Once they graduated, they would become preliminary officers right away. That was the dream job for countless young people. Yen Yu thought Chaoga would say yes without hesitation. However, Chaoga tilted her head and asked, as in His Royal Highness's Imperial Guards. Yes. Do I still get to walk around as I do now if I join the Imperial Guards? There will be cultivation tasks to fulfill, so you won't get much free time. Can Xiao Wu join the Imperial Guards with me? Yen Yu looked at Feng Wu and found no spiritual essence in the latter. She shook her head decisively. No. I'm not going, then. Chowga shook her head and turned down the offer. She had turned it down. Duan Chowga had refused to join the Imperial Guards. That was a first. Joining the Imperial Guards would bring one's entire clan so many benefits. Yi Yifei stared at Duan Chowga as if the latter had lost her mind. Was she nuts? So many people in the imperial capital were after those 10 places, and she had turned it down. What was she thinking? Jin Yuntao swallowed. Chowga, don't be so reckless. That's a very rare opportunity. Aren't you going to think about it? Chowga shook her round little head. No. But why? Everyone was bewildered. Yen Yu was equally confused. Such an opportunity would make anyone feel over the moon, but this girl had refused it outright. How odd. Chowga looked at Feng Wu, then said, I'm going wherever Xiao Wu goes. Why should I join if Xiao Wu isn't going to? I'm not an idiot. Chapter 455 Xiao Wu. I've lost weight. Chapter 455 Xiao Wu. I've lost weight. You're not an idiot? That's exactly what you are. Yi Yifei was so thrilled to hear Chowga's refusal. Yen Yu frowned. You mean it? Yes. Duan Chowga nodded earnestly. Idiot, Yi Yifei murmured. Chowga glared at her. You're the idiot. Joining the Imperial Guards would be great, but could they find the antidote for degenerative powder? Could they stop her cultivation level from dropping? Could they help her lose weight? Could they point her in the right direction in comprehending inky rain? Xiao Wu had done all that with the point of a finger and a single sentence. And those people called her an idiot? She really would be one if she joined the Imperial Guards. Yen Yu frowned and darted a displeased look at Feng Wu. The girl had no spiritual essence, and she wasn't cultivating. What was the point of sitting in that position? Chowga had declined the offer because of Feng Wu. Hence, Yen Yu had a poor first impression of Feng Wu. With so many people standing around and making so much noise, even a real cultivator wouldn't be able to continue, let alone someone like Feng Wu who was only pretending. How could she keep up the act? Yen Yu shook her head and found Feng Wu even more unpleasant. But was Feng Wu sitting there for nothing? Of course not. She had made some progress before she left home this morning, and had become a level 2 spiritual grandmaster. Feng Wu's cultivation had turned very efficient since becoming a spiritual grandmaster. She was able to point Chowga in the right direction of inky rain, and Chowga was able to break through in such a short period of time. Of course, Feng Wu herself could benefit from the painting as well. Feng Wu was on the threshold of level 3 of the spiritual grandmaster stage already, but she couldn't make her breakthrough when so many people were around. Otherwise, everyone would know that she had regained her abilities. She wasn't strong enough yet to keep everyone she cared about safe, and exposing them to potential threats was too risky. Hence, she stopped practicing and opened her eyes. Xiao Wu! Chowga was the person most excited to see Feng Wu open her eyes. She jumped into Feng Wu's arms and hopped around with Feng Wu. Xiao Wu, guess what? I've lost weight. I have. Feng Wu examined Chowga. She was right. Her face was much thinner than before, and looking down, the black dress that used to stretch tightly around her body had become very loose. Feng Wu nodded. Good. You've gotten rid of a third of the toxin already. Yes. Chowga was almost in tears. Look, Xiao Wu, I made a breakthrough as well. I'm level 7 now. Level 7 was nothing for Chowga, for she used to be a level 9 spiritual master. But it meant so much to her now. Xiao Wu, Xiao Wu. Chowga wrapped her arms around Feng Wu and wouldn't let go. Feng Wu patted her on the head. There. So many people are watching. don't cry. Chowga wiped away her tears and giggled. She had been a cheerful and optimistic girl before. Now that the most depressing period was over, she lit up like a ray of sunshine after a heavy rain. Hi Xiao Wu. Jin Yuntao greeted Feng Wu. Feng Wu knew nothing of the outside world when she was in a meditative state, but Little Phoenix had told her everything, and Feng Wu learned of how Jin Yuntao and his friends had helped her. Chapter 456, Feng Wu, I'd like to see what you can do now. Chapter 456 Feng Wu, I'd like to see what you can do now. Feng Wu greeted them with a nod. Before she could speak, Yi Yifei smirked. Feng Wu, you should be ashamed of yourself. Ashamed? Feng Wu was bemused. Yi Yifei snickered. Do you know that Chowga just turned down an opportunity to join the Imperial Guards because of you? You've ruined Chowga's future. Aren't you a little bit ashamed? That was actually what Yen Yu wanted to say. As expected, Yen Yu turned her gaze on Feng Wu, looking rather displeased. Of course not, Feng Wu said matter-of-factly. The others were speechless. It was the Imperial Guards. Could Feng Wu be any more pretentious? TCH, Yi Yifei snickered. Feng Wu, you just can't live with the fact that you can't cultivate anymore, can you? You're jealous of Chowga's talent, and that's why you're stopping her from joining the Imperial Guards. You're taking her down with you. You're the most selfish and narrow-minded person I've ever met. I don't know what Duan Chowga is thinking, following you around like this. At those words, more people cast stern looks at Feng Wu. Before Feng Wu said anything, Chowga flared up. She glared at Yi Yifei. What's wrong with you? It's none of your business whether or not I join the Imperial Guards. Shut up already. Who the hell are you to me? Since when does your opinion count? With Feng Wu to back her up, Duan Chowga became that fierce, lively girl again. Seeing Chowga like this, Feng Wu smiled with relief. God knew how her heart had ached for Chowga when she found the latter in elegant ink gallery in such a miserable state. Yi Yifei went scarlet with embarrassment. You! Yen Yu stared at Feng Wu with a solemn and sincere look on her face. Miss Feng, may I have a word? Of course, Yen Yu said earnestly. Duan Chowga made a breakthrough from comprehending Inky Rain, which has earned her a position in the Imperial Guards. That's a very rare honor. Are you sure you're going to sabotage that wonderful opportunity for her? Miss Feng, that's such a selfish thing to do. Instantly, all eyes were on Feng Wu. Chowga wanted to speak up, but Feng Wu stopped her. She turned to Yen Yu and said calmly, Chowga will be 1,000 times better staying with me than if she joined the Imperial Guard. How ungraciously immodest. Yen Yu gave a wave of her hand, and the next second, everyone felt as if they were being sucked into a maelstrom. They stumbled and almost lost their footing. Yen Yu then drew back her hand and everything was back to normal. She stared at Feng Wu and said earnestly, I'm just a foot soldier in the Imperial Guards, and that's all I'm going to say. Feng Wu's pupils contracted. Yen Yu was at least a level 2 spiritual grandmaster, and she was a mere soldier in the Imperial Guards. Jun Linyuan had so many talented people working for him. Just then, footsteps came from outside. Sister Yen Yu, has someone pissed you off? I see you've shown your muscle. Young Master Mu's voice rang out. Feng Sun was a frequent customer of World Tower, and as Feng Sun's buddy, young Master Mu showed up just as often. Hence, all the employees of World Tower knew him. Young Master Mu. Hearing that careless chuckle, Yi Yifei's eyes lit up. Young Master Mu was finally here. Feng Wu, I'd like to see what you can do now. Yen Yu turned around, saw young Master Mu, and greeted him with a nod. Young Master Mu waved her off, went up to them in an arrogant manner, and darted a glance at Chowga. Chapter 457, But Miss Feng Wu doesn't have an entrance card to World Tower. Chapter 457, But Miss Feng Wu doesn't have an entrance card to World Tower. Feng Wu was standing behind Chowga, and young Master Mu didn't see her when he walked in. Young Master Mu, Yi Yifei said in an ingratiating tone. I was told that the person throwing mud at Elegant Ink Gallery is right here? Step out now and let me see your face. Young Master Mu entered the room in a familiar manner. He had a large entourage, and someone had already set down a chair for him. Yi Yifei pointed at Chowga and Feng Wu with an indignant expression, but she was smirking inwardly. Those two were the ones who slandered Elegant Ink Gallery. We saw it with our own eyes and we can attest to it. Really? Crossing his legs, young Master Mu found a comfortable position in the chair and shook his leg. He looked sidelong at Chowga. Young lady, you guys are pretty bold to discredit Elegant Ink Gallery like that. Chowga didn't like this guy at all and she glared back at him. Oh my, young Master Mu glanced at Chowga out of the corner of his eye. Someone's pissed. Don't tell me you've never heard of my name before. The young Master Mu, who had friends in both high and low places, was capable of getting a third-ranked official fired. Everyone would greet him with great respect. Chowga glowered at young Master Mu. You, come here. Mu beckoned Chowga over. I've never met someone this ugly and this grumpy. This ugly? Chowga was furious, and she went on glaring at young Master Mu. Why, that's a very peevish girl over there. Do you have any idea who I am? What's with that attitude? You, slap her. Mu gave a wave of his hand. Yi Yifei smiled in satisfaction. Elegant Ink Gallery was young Master Mu's property, and those two girls were finished. She was sure of it. Meanwhile, two stalwart men went up to Chowga and were ready to slap her. Just then, young Master Mu, very impressive, said a cold voice behind Chowga. Mu snorted. You're with her? Very well. Slap her too. How dare these people slander Elegant Ink Gallery? His brother Feng III was the biggest shareholder of the business. Young Master Mu was very upset. Yi Yifei laughed so hard that she had a stomachache. Feng Wu, you're so doomed. Huayin and the others exchanged looks, and they all gloated at Feng Wu's predicament. Jin Yuntao was exasperated. He quickly stepped out and stood in front of Feng Wu, blocking her from young Master Mu's sight. He then cupped his hands at the young lord. Chowga is too young to understand what she's done. I'll make them apologize to you. Young Master Mu, please forgive them for my sake. Why, isn't it Jin Yuntao? Mu recognized the teenager, smiled a little, and waved him off. Mind your own business. There, out of my way. After that, young Master Mu rose to his feet and went up to Chowga. He then sensed a pair of cold eyes on him. Turning in the direction of that gaze, young Master Mu saw a face, which scared him out of his wits. Meanwhile, in northern Feng Mansion, the Crown Prince glanced at Feng as he marched out. Feng walked behind him and reported in a level tone, Miss Feng Wu was here because she needed young Lord Feng to buy a manor on her behalf. A manor? Jun Linyuan frowned. Grand Secretary Feng, the Feng Manor's next-door neighbor, is retiring soon. Many people are trying to purchase that house. Hence, Miss Feng wasn't here on a date, my dear Crown Prince. Weren't you a little too hard on young Lord Feng? She would rather get Feng Sun than himself to buy a manor? So, Feng Sun was more important to her than he was? The Crown Prince clenched his fists in rage. Feng was rendered speechless. In order to prevent his master from beating up Feng Sun again, he changed the subject right away. Miss Feng Wu is in World Tower now. The Crown Prince said arrogantly, Why would I care where she is? Feng hesitated. But Miss Feng Wu doesn't have an entrance card to World Tower. Chapter 458 The Proud Crown Prince 1. Chapter 458 The Proud Crown Prince 1. Feng said, But Miss Feng Wu doesn't have an entrance card to World Tower. Jun Linyuan smirked. TCH, she'll be thrown out then. That's ridiculous, getting into World Tower without an entrance card. Does she think she owns World Tower now? Feng smacked his forehead. What was he supposed to do with his young master? He made another attempt. I think young Master Mu is going after Miss Wu now. Jun Linyuan halted abruptly. As in Mu the Sixth? Feng Sun's minion? Feng nodded. That's him, the sixth son of Lord Mu. He's very fond of pretty women and has 99 young maids and concubines at home already. I heard that. Jun Linyuan headed for World Tower right away. He only took a couple of steps before turning around and glaring at Feng. I'm not going because of that Feng Wu. No, of course not. Feng nodded immediately. World Tower bought some green cloud tea recently, which is a rare delicacy. Didn't you say you wanted to try some yesterday? Feng sighed inwardly. Other than looking after the Crown Prince's daily life, he had to be ready to make excuses for the latter as necessary. That's right. The Crown Prince set out happily. Feng was speechless. Meanwhile, in World Tower, young Master Mu's head went blank. For he looked past Duan Chaoga and saw Feng Wu's face. That face, no matter how forgetful he became, he would never forget such an incredible beauty. He had seen her just earlier today at Northern Feng Mansion, but she had been talking to Feng at the time. Only a handful of people could talk to Feng as an equal. Who are you? Young Master Mu looked at Feng Wu suspiciously. She was so pretty. He would be over the moon if he could have her as his own. Yi Yifei interjected right away. She's Feng Wu, that genius from 5 years ago, but she's an imbecile and a cripple now. Feng Wu. Young Master Mu found that name very familiar, but not from 5 years ago. He thought he had heard it only today. All of a sudden, young Master Mu blanched. He remembered where he had heard it. In Northern Feng Mansion. At that time, his brother Feng had been yelling in his room, I like Feng Wu. You heard me. Brother Feng liked Feng Wu? As in the Feng Wu standing right here? So, she was his sister-in-law. Huyin had no idea what was going on in young Master Mu's head. Seeing how he stared at Feng Wu, Huyin thought that the young master was furious, so she added, That's her. She slandered Elegant Ink Gallery for selling fake antiques. We told her that Elegant Ink Gallery was your business, but she was still. Shut up. Young Master Mu slapped Huyin hard. Smack. Huyin spun around at the crisp slap and everyone else watched in bewilderment. No one had seen that coming. Wasn't Huyin Yi Yifei's minion? Wasn't Yi Yifei on young Master Mu's side? Yi Yifei was the most astonished of them all. She stared at Mu in disbelief. Young Master Mu, you. Mu ignored Yi Yifei. He quickly went up to Feng Wu and beamed at her. Sister-in-law, I'm so glad to see you here. Sorry about what happened just then. My bad. I didn't recognize you. Please forgive me. Immediately, all eyes were on Feng Wu. Sister-in-law. Why would young Master Mu call her that? What was going on here? Feng Wu cut Mu off with a frown. What sister-in-law? Watch your language. Chapter 459, The Proud Crown Prince, 2. Chapter 459, The Proud Crown Prince, 2. Feng Wu had reprimanded young Master Mu? Who the hell did she think she was? Didn't she know that young Master Mu was young Lord Feng's friend? Yi Yifei smirked. Feng Wu had offended young Master Mu so blatantly, and she was looking forward to seeing Feng Wu's downfall. But, to Yi Yifei's surprise, Mu moved closer and grinned at Feng Wu. Of course. Sister-in-law, you're so right. I was being inappropriate. That was so sycophantic. Everyone looked at young Master Mu in disbelief. He was the son of a lord and an acquaintance of the Crown Prince, but he was being so nice to Feng Wu all of a sudden. What was going on? Young Master Mu, you. Before Yi Yifei could finish her sentence, Mu turned around and glared at her. Yi Yifei, you, get your ass down here and apologize to Feng. Xiao Wu. Mu wanted to call her sister-in-law so bad, but Feng Wu was glaring at him and he didn't dare do anything reckless. Yi Yifei was utterly dumbfounded. Me? Apologize to her? Yi Yifei thought she was going to lose her mind. Which important guy has she hooked up with now? Why do I need to apologize to her? Yi Yifei hated Feng Wu even more. Young Master Mu was displeased. He was going to say something when, "Why, are you having a party on the 5th floor now?" A cheerful voice rang out. Feng Wu recognized that voice. Turning around, she saw that it was indeed Mu Yaoyao. She couldn't figure out why she kept running into this young princess everywhere. Actually, Mu Yaoyao had been watching for a while. She had thought that it would be a piece of cake for Yi Yifei to take out Feng Wu, but Yi Yifei was useless. Mu had completely squashed her. To stop Mu from indulging Feng Wu further, Mu Yaoyao stepped out. Princess Mu. Mu Yaoyao was Xian Yi's cousin and the daughter of Duke Mu. As a prestigious figure in the imperial capital, she was quite well known. At least, everyone here recognized her. "So, it's you, Mu the 6th one," Mu Yaoyao sauntered into the room and said in a casual voice, her arms crossed. Lord Mu was a baron and Mu Yaoyao's father was a duke, which was several ranks higher. Hence, Mu the 6th could only smile bitterly at Mu Yaoyao. "Mu, you've made quite a scene here." Mu Yaoyao patted Mu the 6th on the shoulder, then pointed at Feng Wu. "Do you know who she is?" Of course Mu the 6th had an answer to that. "She's my sister-in-law." Mu Yaoyao snickered. Ignoring the goofy Mu the 6th, she went up to Feng Wu. Glancing at Feng Wu out of the corner of her eye, Mu Yaoyao snorted. "Sister-in-law? Eh? Mu the 6th calls you that? Feng Wu, where did that come from?" Despite Mu Yaoyao's background, Mu the 6th wouldn't let her pick on Feng Wu. Hence, he went up to them and patted Mu Yaoyao on the shoulder. "Hey, don't bully the newbie. Brother Feng won't be happy if he hears about this." "Brother Feng? As in Feng Sun?" Mu Yaoyao smirked and pointed at Feng Wu. "Don't tell me you're calling her sister-in-law because of Feng Sun." "What now?" Mu the 6th was confused. "Ha ha ha," Mu Yaoyao laughed until she was in tears. "Mu the 6th, what can I say? Your joke just made my day. Ha ha ha." Chapter 460 The Proud Crown Prince 3. Chapter 460 The Proud Crown Prince 3. Seeing how hard Mu Yaoyao laughed and how certain she was, Mu the 6th couldn't help but look at Feng Wu again. Had he misunderstood something? Wiping away her tears, Mu Yaoyao said, "Mu the 6th, Feng the 3rd is all about his fame. Do you think someone like that will fall in love with a good-for-nothing? Would you, if you were him?" That made some sense, but Feng Wu was really, really beautiful. Mu the 6th scratched his head. Mu Yaoyao snorted. Well, Feng Sun and the others stayed at the old Feng Manor when they were in northern border city, but it was because of Feng Yuan, not Feng Wu. Well, Feng Sun did speak to her, but do you know what he said? Everyone was curious and all eyes were on Mu Yaoyao. After making sure she was in the limelight, Mu Yaoyao stuck out her chest and said arrogantly, "Feng Sun asked her, 'Little Feng Wu, come to my place and be my cook.'" Ha 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 ha! Everyone burst out laughing. Yi Yifei pressed her hands to her stomach and guffawed. "That's so hilarious. Gosh, young Lord Feng is so wicked." Huayin, who had been slapped by Mu the 6th, laughed until she was in tears. Cook for him? So, to young Lord Feng, Feng Wu is only as good as a cook. That's just. Jin Yuntao glared at Mu Yaoyao, but he was of too low a status to speak up. Mu the 6th scratched his ear and said to Mu Yaoyao, "That's not possible. I heard it with my own ears. Of course it's possible. And there's more." Mu Yaoyao darted a glance at Feng Wu with a gloating smile. "When I left Northern Feng Mansion earlier today, Feng Wu was outside. Guess what I saw?" "What?" Everyone looked at Mu Yaoyao. Mu Yaoyao smirked. "I saw Feng Wu stopped at the gate. Captain Zhou went in to tell young Lord Feng, but he came back with a one-word reply. No. Ha 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 ha. Yi Yifei and the others guffawed again. That's so humiliating. Young Lord Feng is really merciless. She's just a cook. Why should young Lord Feng see her anyway? I'd lock myself up in my room and cry if I were her, instead of walking around. Ha ha. Chowga thought she was going to explode. Xiao Wu was her goddess and someone she dreamed of becoming. How dare these people slander her like this? However, Feng Wu tugged at her sleeve and shook her head. Moreover, do you think young Lord Feng is the only man Miss Feng Wu here is trying to hook up with? Mu Yaoyao smirked. She's fishing with several rods all at once. I ran into her cuddling with this pretty boy on the street just the other day. Who was the guy? Mu the Sixth cried out. Well, I'm not at liberty to reveal that, but it wasn't your brother Feng, that's for sure. Mu Yaoyao patted Mu the Sixth on the shoulder. If she really is your sister-in-law, your brother Feng has my condolences. Mu the Sixth's face went livid. He glared at Feng Wu. The one thing that he couldn't stand was his brother Feng being humiliated. Got an explanation? Mu the Sixth stared at Feng Wu. I'm going to give you a chance. Explain yourself, or there will be consequences. Chapter 461 The Proud Crown Prince 4. Chapter 461 The Proud Crown Prince 4. After all, Mu the Sixth was on Feng Sun's side. He worshipped Feng Sun and wouldn't let anyone say anything bad about the latter. Feng Wu glanced at Mu the Sixth. I'm not obliged to explain myself to you, but I guess I can clear something up here. She went on, Feng Sun and I are just friends. There's nothing more between us. But Mu the Sixth wouldn't believe it. You really are Feng Wu? Yes. Then you two can't just be friends. Mu the Sixth gritted his teeth. He wasn't that forgetful, and he was sure he had heard Feng Sun right. His brother Feng had shouted out that he liked Feng Wu. Have friends? Mu Yaoyao smirked. You're nothing but a humble cook to Feng Sun. How arrogant of you, calling yourself his friend. You sure have a wild imagination. Mu Yaoyao was relentless with her choice of words. Yi Yifei and the others played along and laughed accordingly. They all gave Mu Yaoyao the thumbs up. Princess Mu was amazing. Then, they turned to Feng Wu in unison. What was she going to say now? Jin Yuntao was very concerned for Feng Wu. Chowga was furious. However, Feng Wu, the girl being humiliated, kept her composure the entire time. Mu Yaoyao, you really do talk a lot. Feng Wu stared at her and her gaze grew cold. I'm telling the truth. Prove yourself if you can. Mu Yaoyao smirked. You're not worth my explanation, but you're asking for death and I'm going to give it to you. Mu the Sixth. Feng Wu called his name in a cold voice. Mu the Sixth shuddered. Yes. When did you see me today? At noon. Where? In Northern Feng Mansion. Inside or outside? Inside. Mu the Sixth said loudly. You swear on it? Of course. Mu the Sixth confirmed. So, Feng Wu turned around and gave Mu Yaoyao a half-smile. According to you, I can't get into Northern Feng Mansion. Boom. Checkmate. That's not possible. Mu Yaoyao wouldn't believe it. You couldn't have gotten in. No way. Feng Wu said, so, you're saying that Mu the Sixth is lying for me. Mu the Sixth had been shaken by Mu Yaoyao's words, but what Feng Wu said steadied him. Mu Yaoyao, you're full of bullshit. I see you're so good at throwing mud at other people. Brother Feng will know about this and you'll have to answer to him. I don't believe it. Mu Yaoyao glared at Feng Wu. I heard it myself. Feng Sun wouldn't see you. Bullshit. Mu the Sixth had heard it himself that Feng Sun said he liked Feng Wu. And of course, Mu the Sixth chose to believe his own ears. Miss Yanyu, please take Princess Mu away. She's not welcome here. If Feng Sun were here, he could throw the princess out right away, but Mu the Sixth didn't dare do it. "Touch me and you're dead." Wild with rage, Mu Yaoyao turned around and tried to slap Feng Wu. Thump. As soon as Mu Yaoyao raised her hand, Feng Wu kicked her right in the chest. Boom. There was a loud crashing sound. Mu Yaoyao flew backward and smashed into the dining table. Crash. The dishes had yet to be removed and the leftovers were still all there. Chapter 462, The Proud Crown Prince, 5. Chapter 462, The Proud Crown Prince, 5. The table cracked at the impact, and all the leftovers on the dishes ended up all over Mu Yaoyao. Everything happened so fast. And it took everyone by surprise. That was so frightening. No one had expected Feng Wu to lash out. Not to mention that she had kicked Mu Yaoyao so hard. Only then did they turn from Mu Yaoyao to Feng Wu and stare at the latter with dropped jaws and wide-open eyes. Everyone was flabbergasted. Yi Yifei was speechless. Mu the Sixth didn't know what to say. The rest of the crowd was equally silent. That was insane. Yi Yifei pointed at Feng Wu with a shaking finger. "How dare you? How dare you?" With the decline of the Feng clan's status, Feng Wu's uncle was the most superior figure they could come up with, and he was a mere third-ranked official. Mu Yaoyao, on the other hand, was the daughter of a duke. Mu the Sixth wanted to applaud Feng Wu. That was awesome. That kick even reminded him of Jun Linyuan. Mu the Sixth found Feng Wu even more pleasant after what she did to Mu Yaoyao. No one went to help Mu Yaoyao, and in the end, she struggled to her feet on her own. She was wretched beyond description. Fish bones and vegetable leaves stuck out of her hair, and her exquisite dress was stained and greasy as soup dripped from it. Enraged, Mu Yaoyao glared at Feng Wu with red-rimmed eyes and a twisted face. She bellowed, "Feng Wu, I'm gonna kill you!" After that, Mu Yaoyao charged at Feng Wu like an angry bull. She almost reached Feng Wu when Mu the Sixth pulled Feng Wu away. Mu Yaoyao hit empty air, but momentum kept her going. Thud! Feng Wu was standing a few steps in front of the wall, and right behind her was the painting Inky Rain. "Stop!" Yan Yu cried out. But she was too late. Mu Yaoyao banged into the wall headfirst like an angry bull. "No!" Yan Yu rushed to Mu Yaoyao's side and yanked the ladder back. But her worst fear had come true. Haughty as Yan Yu was, she almost burst into tears. And it wasn't for Princess Mu, but for the painting. As far as she knew, Inky Rain had been painted by His Royal Highness and contained a manual for a whole set of swordplay. They took great care of all the paintings, making sure that they were kept in a pristine state. But now, all the grease on Mu Yaoyao's head had splattered all over Inky Rain. Yan Yu felt like passing out. That woman was dead. Mu Yaoyao had used all her strength and the impact was incredible. She almost cracked her own head open. Although she didn't pass out right away, her vision had darkened and she could see stars. Growing up, Mu Yaoyao had never been mistreated. That was, until she met Feng Wu. "Feng Wu, I'm gonna kill you, I swear to God." Her angry scream resounded in the room. Feng Wu shrugged. "So, if anything happens to me, Princess Mu will be the prime suspect." "Mu the Sixth, you heard that, right?" Mu the Sixth nodded right away. "Yes, of course." Seeing that Mu the Sixth was taking Feng Wu's side, Mu Yaoyao exploded. Still sitting on the floor, she pointed at Feng Wu and yelled between angry sobs, "Mu the Sixth, you idiot! She couldn't even get into Northern Feng Mansion. How can Feng soon be in love with her? Are you blind or have you lost your mind?" Chapter 463, The Proud Crown Prince, 6. Chapter 463, The Proud Crown Prince, 6. Mu the Sixth was displeased. He was playing along with Feng Wu because she was a cool girl and his sister-in-law. Mu Yaoyao, on the other hand, was a different story. He wouldn't stand for the princess's temper. Before Mu the Sixth could speak, footsteps came from outside, and by the sound of it, there was more than one person. Princess Mu, there you are! It was none other than Captain Zhou. He was here under Lady Northern Feng's command to take Mu Yaoyao back. But Mu Yaoyao didn't know that. She was thrilled to see Captain Zhou and rushed to his side despite the pain in her head. Grabbing Captain Zhou's hand, she dragged him to Feng Wu's side. Mu Yaoyao then shouted at Captain Zhou, "You're the captain of the guards of Northern Feng Mansion, so tell us, didn't young Lord Feng tell you this morning that he wouldn't see her? Didn't you shut her out of the mansion? Tell us." Instantly, all eyes were on Captain Zhou. Mu Yaoyao said that Feng Wu couldn't get into Northern Feng Mansion, but Mu the Sixth said she had gotten in. Which of the two was lying? Captain Zhou freed his arm from Mu Yaoyao's grasp, then stared at the princess with a stern look on his face. "Princess Mu, I'm bringing you to Lady Northern Feng on her command. Why does the lady want to see me? Answer me first. Feng Wu was shut out of Northern Feng Manor, wasn't she?" Mu Yaoyao insisted. It was pivotal to her argument. Confirming it would in turn prove that she, Mu Yaoyao, wasn't lying. Hence, the others would believe everything else she said about Feng Wu. However, Captain Zhou only gave Mu Yaoyao a brooding look. Miss Feng Wu did get in. What? The looks the others gave Mu Yaoyao changed. Even Captain Zhou had said so, which meant that Mu Yaoyao was lying. She was deliberately slandering Feng Wu. Mu the Sixth smirked, while Yi Yifei and the others frowned. Mu Yaoyao was exasperated. Grabbing Captain Zhou, she tried to slap him. "She paid you off, didn't she? How much did she give you? I'll double it." But as the captain of the guards, Zhou dodged her strike easily. Taking Mu Yaoyao's wrist, Captain Zhou stared at her with cold eyes. He hadn't planned to tell them what Lady Northern Feng said, but Mu Yaoyao was asking for it. "Miss Mu, you're suspected of defaming Miss Feng Wu outside the gate of Northern Feng Mansion, and her ladyship ordered me to bring you to her for questioning." Wow! Everyone, especially Yi Yifei and her people, exchanged looks with one another. They had envied Mu Yaoyao for that invitation in the beginning, for it was from Lady Northern Feng. But now Yi Yifei and the others all backed away from Mu Yaoyao. So, Mu Yaoyao had been lying after all, and she had made up all those things about Feng Wu. Mu the Sixth was reassured. He knew it. He knew he had heard correctly. His brother Feng was indeed in love with Feng Wu. See? Even Lady Northern Feng was on her side. Mu Yaoyao was so dead. Bursting into angry tears, Mu Yaoyao screamed, "You're all in it together! You're all working against me!" With her frantic manner, her bloody forehead, and her greasy clothes, she looked worse than a beggar. One would never imagine that a princess could look like this. "Yaoyao, why are you yelling?" A voice came from the distance. Mu the Sixth shuddered at once. It couldn't be. "Your Royal Highness!" Mu the Sixth was right. It was indeed the Emperor's third daughter, the obstinate royal princess. Despite his reluctance, Mu the Sixth had to greet her with a bow. Chapter 464, The Proud Crown Prince, 7. Chapter 464, The Proud Crown Prince, 7. Jun Wuxiao was the third princess of the royal family and the Empress's own daughter. As the most beloved daughter of her parents, she had grown into a spoilt and willful girl. The royal princess arrived with a large entourage, for that was what she was used to. Attended by that crowd, Jun Wuxiao walked in, looking bemused. "Mu the Sixth, where's Mu Yaoyao? She was with me 1 minute and gone the next." So, Mu Yaoyao came with Jun Wuxiao today. Mu the Sixth darted a glance at Feng Wu, feeling apprehensive. Things could probably turn very nasty for her today. "Princess, help!" Mu Yaoyao cried so hard that she almost passed out. She rushed to Jun Wuxiao's side and wrapped her arms around the latter's leg. Her voice almost tore the roof open. Yi Yifei and the others looked at one another in bewilderment. Never had they expected to meet someone as big as Princess Jun Wuxia. They lowered their heads and kept very still. Feng Wu was so dead. This was great. Yi Yifei thought to herself. Jin Yuntao was worried sick. Princess Jun Wuxiao was such a superior figure that he felt all hope was lost. What were they supposed to do now? Before Jun Wuxia could recognize Mu Yaoyao, a stalwart granny kicked Mu Yaoyao away with great force. Meanwhile, that Granny Yu, pulled Princess Jun Wuxia behind her and cried out, "Watch out, Your Royal Highness!" Poor Mu Yaoyao. That was the second time she had been kicked in such a short period of time. Whoosh! Thud! Mu Yaoyao smashed into the wall again, and she almost passed out in pain. Shaken, Princess Jun Wuxia turned around and glared at Yenyu. "How could you let a beggar into World Tower? This is a respectable establishment. You haven't been doing your job properly. Throw her out now." Yenyu was speechless. Mu the Sixth didn't know what to say. Yi Yifei was equally speechless. No one made a sound and it was very awkward. Mu Yaoyao wanted to dig a hole and bury herself inside. She had never been this humiliated. While the others kept their silence, Chaoga burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha ha, Mu Yaoyao, Princess Jun Wuxiao wants to throw you out. Ha 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 ha." Mu Yaoyao was so ashamed that she wanted to slip away before Jun Wuxia recognized her in that miserable state. However, her hopes were shattered by Chaoga. "Mu Yaoyao?" Princess Jun Wuxia's eyes widened in surprise. Her entourage was equally shocked. All eyes were on Mu Yaoyao now. Mu Yaoyao felt her cheeks burn and the embarrassment ate at her. In the end, she closed her eyes and pretended to pass out. But Granny Yu wouldn't let her. She would be the one to blame if Mu Yaoyao fainted. Hence, Granny Yu quickly went up to Mu Yaoyao and picked her up as easily as if she was handling a chicken. Meanwhile, Granny Yu sent out a streak of spiritual essence from the tip of her finger. Mu Yaoyao felt as if electricity was running through her veins. She grumbled. Granny Yu snorted inwardly. The girl wanted to blame her for this? In her dreams, Mu Yaoyao wanted to kill Granny Yu, but since she couldn't pretend to pass out now, she had to go with the beaten-up girl act. "Princess Jun Wuxia, help me. I'm Yaoyao," Mu Yaoyao pleaded between broken sobs and sounded very pitiful. "It does sound like her. Show me her face," Princess Jun Wuxia commanded Granny Yu. Chapter 465 The Proud Crown Prince 8. Chapter 465 The Proud Crown Prince 8. With her disheveled hair, stained clothes, and a face streaked with blood and tears, Mu Yaoyao looked worse than a beggar. However, Princess Jun Wuxia was able to recognize Mu Yaoyao from the latter's eyes and voice. "Mu Yaoyao? Good gracious!" Princess Jun Wuxia cried out in surprise. What have you done to yourself? How did you?" Granny Yu dropped to her knees at Princess Jun Wuxia's feet, then spoke in a solemn tone. "Your Royal Highness, I made a terrible mistake. I kicked Princess Mu before I could recognize her. I must be punished for what I did." Jun Wuxia waved her off. "You only did it to protect me and it was an instinctive reaction. You're not to be blamed. Do get up." Granny Yu let out a breath of relief and rose to her feet. Jun Wuxia turned her attention to Mu Yaoyao now. Had Granny Yu kicked her that hard? Was she going to have to apologize to the Mu family now? Princess Jun Wuxia was still hesitating over the idea when Mu Yaoyao pointed at Feng Wu. "Your Royal Highness, it wasn't Granny Yu's fault. That woman did this to me." "That woman?" Jun Wuxia followed Mu Yaoyao's finger. And she saw a girl standing there. What a pretty girl! Jun Wuxia had never met anyone this beautiful before. She was as perfect as a picture, she had bright eyes and white teeth, and there was something ethereal about her. Just standing there casually, she was already stunning. Especially her calm eyes and perfect composure. Jun Wuxia didn't think she could find anyone with that same air. She was so beautiful. Growing up in the royal palace, where some of the most beautiful women on this continent lived, Princess Jun Wuxia was used to seeing pretty faces all the time. However, she was still astonished by this girl. Pretty girls tended to vie with each other even more in terms of appearance. As soon as Jun Wuxia spotted Feng Wu, she tensed up and was combat ready. "Who's she?" Jun Wuxia asked in a displeased voice. "She's Feng Wu." Wiping away the tears and blood on her face, Mu Yaoyao scrambled to her feet and pointed at Feng Wu. His Royal Highness annulled his engagement to her. Her. Of course Jun Wuxia knew who Feng Wu was. Back then, Feng Wu was a nightmare to many children of her age, for she had set the bar too high. Even the Empress's own daughter had been robbed of the spotlight. The look on Jun Wuxia's face turned grimmer. Mu Yaoyao smiled viciously. She suddenly recalled a lot of things Jun Wuxia had done to get close to Feng Sun. Jun Wuxia and Feng Sun? Could that be it? Ah. Feng Wu, you're dead. Mu Yaoyao stoked the fire. Mu the Sixth called Feng Wu his sister-in-law just then, saying that young Lord Feng was in love with her. What? That set Jun Wuxia off right away. Her already unkind eyes spat fire now. Feng Wu, how dare you do that to Mu Yaoyao? Feng Wu had just turned into Jun Wuxia's #1 target. Clever as Feng Wu was, she figured out right away when she saw the change in Jun Wuxia's expression that thanks to Feng Sun, she had been framed yet again. Feng Wu frowned. Feng Sun and I are just friends. Friends? Mu Yaoyao smirked. Mu the Sixth called you his sister-in-law and you're just the young lord's friend? Feng Sun likes you so much that he wanted to bring you back to the imperial capital himself back in northern border city. Come to think of it, didn't you come here all the way from the border city just for him? Mu Yaoyao kept stealing glances at Jun Wuxia as she spoke. Chapter 466, The Proud Crown Prince, 9. Chapter 466, The Proud Crown Prince, 9. Good. Jun Wuxia's face was livid. Trying to take the royal princess's man away? Feng Wu had to have a death wish. Smack! Infuriated, Jun Wuxia raised a hand to strike Feng Wu's beautiful face. She was wearing decorative nail guards which were sharp enough to cut Feng Wu's cheek open. Mu the Sixth rushed out and pushed Feng Wu out of the way. And he ended up being the one slapped. Jun Wuxia was fuming. Even Mu the Sixth was on Feng Wu's side now. Granny Yu! Jun Wuxia bellowed. Granny Yu acted as Jun Wuxia's bodyguard, and she knew what the princess wanted even from the most subtle hint. Hence, Granny Yu walked out from behind Jun Wuxia and locked her murderous gaze on Feng Wu. Mu the Sixth shot Captain Zhou a warning glance, trying to get the latter to stop Jun Wuxia before she went berserk. Zhou sent one of his men back to ask Lady Northern Feng for help. Jun Wuxia smirked at Feng Wu. You should always watch out for powerful connections, even if you're hitting a dog. Granny Yu, take her. Granny Yu had been given to Jun Wuxia by the Empress and she was a she-wolf. Jun Wuxia had barely given her order when Granny Yu charged at Feng Wu like a tiger. Feng Wu leaned back and dodged that strike. Mu the Sixth rushed over and blocked Granny Yu's way. Have you lost your mind as well? Granny Yu grinned grimly. Young Master Mu, please get out of my way. No. Over my dead body. Mu the Sixth knew that Feng Wu was someone Feng Sun wanted to protect, and he was already blaming himself for suspecting her earlier. He wasn't going to waver again. With a wave of his hand, his men broke into a fight with Granny Yu. However, Granny Yu was way too capable for Mu the Sixth's men to fend off. Mu the Sixth turned to Yen Yu for help. Miss Yen Yu, could you get your boss down here, for Brother Feng's sake? The head of World Tower never showed up in front of guests, but Mu the Sixth knew that Lu, the chief, was always stationed here. Yen Yu frowned. As a matter of fact, she didn't like Feng Wu. She didn't know why, but she just felt that way, as one woman to another. Hence, she shook her head. Chief Lu was too occupied with cultivation to pay attention to such a petty matter. So, she wasn't going to help. Exasperated, Mu the Sixth pulled Feng Wu to one side and whispered, "When you get a chance, jump out of that window. Quickly!" Princess Jun Wuxiao was too willful and unpredictable for him to handle. He feared that the princess would kill Feng Wu here today. That could happen. But Feng Wu only stood there calmly with her hands behind her back and looked unhurriedly at Jun Wuxiao. It was as if Jun Wuxiao wasn't a royal princess, but just another commoner. Brushing off all the people standing in her way, Granny Yu lunged at Feng Wu and reached for her throat with her scrawny fingers. "Screw you!" Chowga shielded Feng Wu with her own body. Thump. But Granny Yu was still too powerful an opponent for Chowga, and the granny sent Chowga flying backward with a sweep of her hand. Chowga grunted and spat out a mouthful of blood. Granny Yu finally faced Feng Wu. A cold light glinted in Feng Wu's eyes. It seemed that she wouldn't be able to hide her cultivation ability anymore. Just as Granny Yu raised her hand. Chapter 467, The Proud Crown Prince, 10. Chapter 467, The Proud Crown Prince, 10. She was about to grab Feng Wu by her throat. Thud! A force as strong as a tornado rushed at Granny Yu. Crash! Despite how strongly built Granny Yu was, she was shoved away by that crushing force like a dry tree trunk. Thud! There was the sound of a human body hitting the wall. Crack! And that was the sound of bones breaking. All eyes followed Granny Yu as she flew backward, hit the wall and fell to the floor, and they all heard the sound of her bones shattering. Then, all heads turned in unison to the door. A neat, well-groomed and elegant elderly man stood there, showing great respect to a teenager in the middle of the crowd. Feng almost broke into a cold sweat. Granny Yu had asked for it. How dare she offend Feng Wu? If Feng hadn't intervened in time, Princess Jun Wuxiao would be the one killed right now. The others had no idea what Feng was thinking about. Right now, all their attention was on that formidable teenager standing in the center of the room. He was impeccably handsome. He could easily look down on anyone or anything on this continent. He looked so haughty and unattainable. He was such a dazzling figure. "Why, Your Royal Highness," Mu the Sixth felt his legs give out and he almost dropped to his knees. This guy was the boss of his boss and the most terrifying character. Jun Linyuan's face was livid. Because of that foul mood, the air in the room seemed to freeze the moment he set foot inside. Everyone, the swaggering, willful Jun Wuxia included, turned as meek as lambs in his presence. They didn't even dare look up. Jun Linyuan looked in Feng Wu's direction and his gaze became as sharp as a blade. Feng Wu was utterly bewildered. She hadn't even retaliated against his sister yet and he was already blaming her? Jun Linyuan indeed always took his people's side. Humph. Meanwhile, everyone watched Jun Linyuan in trepidation. World Tower didn't allow fighting, but they had just been doing so, which was to say that not only had they broken the rule, they had been caught red-handed by His Royal Highness himself. Jun Linyuan turned his sharp gaze on Mu the Sixth. "Your Royal Highness," sweat trickled down Mu the Sixth's forehead. "Explain?" Jun Linyuan sat down in the head seat. Mu the Sixth sighed inwardly. He had met the Crown Prince multiple times because of Feng Sun, but Mu the Sixth found the Crown Prince more intimidating with each meeting, and thus felt more pressured each time. Despite how anxious he felt, Mu the Sixth managed to keep his voice calm and told Jun Linyuan what happened in succinct words. Jun Linyuan kept glancing at Feng Wu as he listened. He would never have bothered to come here for so petty a matter if it wasn't for her. Although, now that he was here to save her, that girl would finally see how useful it was to have him around, wouldn't she? The Crown Prince darted another proud look at Feng Wu. However, Feng Wu kept her head down, lost in her thoughts, and didn't notice Jun Linyuan. Seeing the crown prince glare at Feng Wu the whole time with a livid face, Mu the Sixth panicked. The crown prince always took his people's side, and he would surely speak up for Princess Jun Wuxia now. Miss Feng Wu was in grave danger. Mu the Sixth's head was spinning and he pleaded with Jun Linyuan, "Your Royal Highness, it's true that Miss Feng Wu did some reckless things and offended the princess, but, after all, Brother Feng likes her that way, right? Everything would have been fine if Mu the Sixth had left that last bit out, but he didn't." Feng's stomach lurched. Chapter 468, The Proud Crown Prince 11. Chapter 468, The Proud Crown Prince 11. Was stupidity infectious? Why were these young lords getting dumber and dumber? The crown prince would be furious. And Feng was right. Feng Wu! Jun Linyuan bellowed. Thud! He smacked down with an open palm. Thump! The table in front of him was pulverized and the pieces scattered all over the floor. For a second, everyone thought that their hearts had stopped beating. Oh no! Feng Wu was so dead. She might have been able to get away from Princess Jun Wuxia's hatred, but if the crown prince turned against her, she was doomed. Jin Yuntao broke into a cold sweat. Mu the Sixth felt a great force fall from above, which almost broke his back. So scary. Jun Linyuan bolted to his feet. For a moment, no one dared to speak. You! Jun Linyuan stared at Yenyu. Yenyu had already dropped to her knees. She looked up at his voice. I'm Yenyu, your Royal Highness. Since when is fighting allowed in World Tower? Jun Linyuan didn't raise his voice, but every syllable he uttered felt like a crushing blow. Yenyu shook all over, but she fought to keep her voice steady. I'm guilty of a crime which I cannot atone for even with my death. Your Royal Highness, please do whatever you see fit to punish me. You don't know what punishment fits you? You're useless. Jun Linyuan turned to Feng. Tell Lu Yun to get her ass down here. Lu Yun was the head of World Tower and a respectable figure that everyone tried to fawn over, but Jun Linyuan was ordering her around like a maid. Feng didn't need to do that. Lu Yun, who had been cultivating, stopped in the middle of her breakthrough and arrived in a hurry. Your Royal Highness! The woman wore a white dress, had calm, bright eyes, and looked as pleasant as an unruffled lake. Yi Yifei and the others trembled even more violently. What was going on? Why did all these bosses keep showing up? Your Royal Highness! The woman in the white dress was so slim that she could barely stand under the weight of her clothes. Jun Linyuan didn't seem to notice her beauty at all. He smirked. Is this how you run World Tower? If you're too busy for it, stop wasting my time here. Lu Yun had learned of what had happened on her way here, which only bewildered her further. Since when did the crown prince care about such petty things? Looking closely at Jun Linyuan, Lu Yun saw that the crown prince was genuinely mad. Yenyu, Lu Yun drew out her sword. Whoosh! The blade swept down and Yenyu's right arm was severed from the shoulder. Ah! Yi Yifei and the others cried out with ghastly pale faces. That was so horrible! Her arm was cut off just like that. However, one had to admit that what Lu Yun did successfully intimidated many people in the room, including that arrogant royal princess. Sweat trickled down Yenyu's forehead, but she gritted her teeth and didn't utter a word despite the excruciating pain. Thump! Yenyu fell to the ground. Lu Yun's gaze was bone-chillingly cold. Do you see what you've done now? Actually, Yenyu didn't. However, it was her duty to follow Jun Linyuan's orders without question, which was something that had been ingrained in her. I don't. Lu Yun then asked, do you agree with the punishment then? Yes. Because it came from His Royal Highness, and she was genuinely convinced. Go away. Yenyu left, but her severed arm still lay on the floor. The bloody limb made for such a gory scene that no one dared look at it. Lu Yun stole a glance at Jun Linyuan and realized that he was still staring at Feng Wu while grinding his teeth. He looked so pissed. Chapter 469 The Proud Crown Prince 12. Chapter 469 The Proud Crown Prince 12. So, His Royal Highness disliked this Miss Feng Wu. That was understandable. No one would like the girl they had once been engaged to, otherwise they wouldn't have cancelled the engagement in the first place. Miss Feng Wu. Lu Yun casually went up to Feng Wu and stared at the latter with sharp eyes. If I'm right, you're the fifth daughter of the Feng clan, the girl who lost her cultivation ability, aren't you? Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. She could detect how capable Lu Yun was. How may I help you? Feng Wu asked with a half-smile. World Tower doesn't allow fighting and you were doing so. Feng Wu smiled. It was self-defense. Lu Yun's face remained expressionless. She was so certain that His Royal Highness despised the sight of this girl, who he had once been engaged to, here in World Tower. Hence, Lu Yun smirked. I don't have time for this. Are you going to do it or do I have to do it for you? Huh. Feng Wu didn't understand. You're going to lose an arm like Yen Yu. Lu Yun's eyes glinted coldly. Feng was flabbergasted. What's wrong with you people? Can't you see how much His Royal Highness cares about Miss Feng Wu? Cutting her arm off? Seriously? If it was up to Feng, Lu Yun would be the one to lose her arm first. The old man felt exhausted. Did youngsters nowadays know nothing about reading faces? Couldn't they see how much His Royal Highness? Turning around, Feng felt even more helpless. His young lord looked so grumpy and terrifying that no one could tell if he was on Feng Wu's side or not. Feng had to intervene. Since Miss Feng Wu did it out of self-defense, someone else must have started it. Miss Lu, please take care of that Mu Yaoyao first, okay? Lu Yun was a smart woman. Had this been any other day, she would have taken Feng's hint right away. However, she had let herself be carried away by her sentiments, and it had been the same with Yen Yu. Both women didn't like Feng Wu. For some unknown reason, Lu Yun couldn't stop disliking Feng Wu when she saw her beautiful face and remembered that Feng Wu had once been the crown prince's fiancé. Hence, she was biased from the beginning. And she ignored Feng's hint. Mr. Feng, are you going to take her word for it? Lu Yun snorted. I don't care what happened. She was fighting and I have to cut her arm off to convince the public. After that, Lu Yun stole a glance at Jun Linyuan. Since His Royal Highness didn't stop her, she was convinced that she was doing the right thing. Feng was speechless. Lu Yun was a shrewd woman, or His Royal Highness would never have made her the head of World Tower. As it turned out, she had been carried away by her own sentiments as well. What a pity! Feng Wu smirked. What if I say no? I'll do it for you. Lu Yun frowned. Was Feng Wu trying to embarrass her in front of His Royal Highness? Lu Yun found Feng Wu even more unpleasant. Mu Yaoyao was thrilled. Feng Wu must have thought that His Royal Highness was still into her. That was why she was so arrogant and conceited. Her arm was going to be cut off now in front of His Royal Highness. They would see how arrogant she could be from now on. Your Royal Highness, Mu VI was perturbed. Summoning up his courage, he stepped out. But Brother Feng, all would have been fine if Mu VI hadn't mentioned Feng Sun. That name reminded Jun Linyuan of what he had heard earlier. He was going to stand up, but decided against it now. He snorted at Feng Wu. Lu Yun had drawn out her sword. Just then. Chapter 470 The Proud Crown Prince 13. Chapter 470 The Proud Crown Prince 13. Boss Jun, what are you doing? A figure rushed in as fast as a tornado. Young Lord Feng? He moved like young Lord Feng, but everyone was shocked when they saw his face. What happened to his face? Did someone beat him up? But who would dare do that to the young lord? While the others were feeling utterly bewildered, Feng Sun took the plunge. He shielded Feng Wu with his own body like a hen protecting its chick. Looking down, he said to Feng Wu, "Xiao Wu, don't be scared. I'm here to protect you." Feng Sun was probably the only person bold enough to stand up to Jun Linyuan at such a moment. Well, he hadn't always been this courageous, but he was willing to do it for Feng Wu now. Jun Linyuan stood up abruptly. He slowly made his way to Feng Sun and stopped in front of the latter. A storm seemed to gather in his eyes. The temperature in the room dropped. Crack. Frost began to creep up the walls. Everyone felt chills run down their spines. They all lowered their heads and were too afraid to look up. Grabbing Feng Sun by his collar, Jun Linyuan said in a cold voice, his face livid, "Feng Sun, how dare you provoke me over and over again?" Despite her fear, Mu Yaoyao was secretly over the moon. She had hated Feng Sun for helping Feng Wu, and now, he had finally set Jun Linyuan off because of it. Haha, Feng Sun was so dead. Princess Jun Wuxiao was conflicted. She was happy to see that in order to defend her, her brother had fallen out with Feng Sun. But to her great annoyance, Feng Sun was protecting that awful girl. Well, that was what Princess Jun Wuxia thought was going on here. "Brother!" While the others were too afraid to speak, Jun Wuxiao went up to Jun Linyuan and tugged at his sleeve in a pitiful manner. "Brother, please don't be mad at Feng Sun. He's not thinking straight. That woman tricked him. I'm sure he'll soon regret what he did." However, Jun Linyuan only drew back his sleeve abruptly and Jun Wuxia almost fell to the floor. But she didn't think much of it and turned to tug at Feng Sun's sleeve instead. "Feng Sun, just apologize to my brother now. Tell him you're sorry." Jun Wuxia tried to pull Feng Sun away from Feng Wu as she spoke. She thought she was doing a great job. She had shown Feng Sun what an understanding woman she was, and she had proven to her brother that she was very helpful. However, Feng Sun only found her meddlesome and shoved her away. "Get lost!" "Ah!" Jun Wuxia stumbled and hit her forehead on the corner of the table. The pain almost made her burst into tears. "Your Royal Highness!" The others all cried out in surprise. The frown on Jun Linyuan's face grew bigger, and he glared at Feng Sun. It gave Feng Sun the creeps. As a matter of fact, he was very scared, but for Feng Wu. "Boss Jun, Xiao Wu didn't do anything wrong. Why won't you leave her alone? She's innocent." The guy was still acting as if he was Feng Wu's sole protector? Jun Linyuan was so angry that he pushed Feng Sun away. Thump, Feng Sun fell to the floor as well. "Brother," Jun Wuxia was so touched, thinking that Jun Linyuan had done it to avenge her, but she felt so sorry for Feng Sun at the same time. "Feng Sun, are you alright?" Seeing Feng Sun struck down by Jun Linyuan, Feng Wu rushed to his side to help him. Jun Linyuan was furious. Chapter 471, The Proud Crown Prince, 14. Chapter 471. The Proud Crown Prince, 14. Staring at Feng Wu with a murderous look in his eyes, he grabbed her by her arm. "Are you an idiot? Why do you care about him so much? I could kill you right now." That astonished everyone. His Royal Highness hated Feng Wu so much that he wanted to kill her. Mu Yaoyao and the others were elated at that discovery. Mu Yaoyao said right away, "Your Royal Highness, Feng Wu is playing Feng Sun. I saw with my own eyes Feng Wu cuddling Yuminji on the street in the middle of the night." Boom. Those words seemed to set Jun Linyuan's brain on fire and his face was darker than a stormy sky. He looked more terrifying than a fiend from hell. Instantly, a gloomy, bone-chilling sensation filled the room. That was so terrifying. Everyone shuddered uncontrollably. Jun Linyuan stepped forward and wrapped his fingers around Feng Wu's throat. He wanted to throttle her now. Feng Wu's eyes widened and she glared at Jun Linyuan. She wanted to say something, but couldn't utter a word. Your Royal Highness! At that critical moment, Feng intervened. Seeing that things were getting further and further off track, the old man felt so desperate. If he didn't stop it now, his young lord would probably never get a wife. Shut up! Jun Linyuan's handsome face was expressionless and there was a frantic look in his eyes. Throwing Feng Wu over his shoulder, he headed for the door. He was carrying her away. Everyone else was baffled. Jun Linyuan halted after a few steps. He turned around, darted a cold glance at Mu Yaoyao and the others, and smirked. Tell their parents to come and fetch their kids. After that, Jun Linyuan marched off with Feng Wu on his shoulder. Feng would have followed him out under normal circumstances. However, it wouldn't be appropriate today, after the big row the young couple had just had. Lu Yun was still dumbfounded, but she had to pull herself together, for His Royal Highness had given an order. That look which His Royal Highness had given her just then was so piercing that Lu Yun was still trembling inwardly. As a result, she didn't dare do anything reckless and turned to Feng for help. What did His Royal Highness mean by telling their parents? Feng darted a glance at Lu Yun. It was understandable that the girl would begin to imagine things for her age. If it happened again, however, His Royal Highness would give her up for sure. Feng had warned Lu Yun once already, and he wasn't going to do it again. He was a supreme swordsman, not a nanny. He ignored Lu Yun and gave the instruction himself. These people offended His Royal Highness and they're going nowhere. Tell their parents to come and get them. No one is leaving here without a parent. Everyone was dumbfounded. They offended His Royal Highness? Who could have been bold enough to do that? But it was an order from His Royal Highness, and they could only obey. Mu Yaoyao said, Mr. Feng, I'm a victim. Feng ignored her. Yi Yifei said, Mr. Feng, I didn't do anything. Feng ignored her. Jin Yuntao and his friends were the most innocent ones. They really had done nothing and had become collateral damage here. Well, I guess I should leave now. Jun Wuxia then tried to help Feng Sun up. However, Feng stared at Jun Wuxia. No one is leaving without a parent. Jun Wuxia glared at Feng. I can vouch for them. Chapter 472, The Proud Crown Prince, 15. Chapter 472. The Proud Crown Prince, 15. Feng looked at Jun Wuxia, his tone impassive but authoritative. I would worry about myself first if I were you, Your Royal Highness. What? All eyes were on Jun Wuxia. Even the royal princess had to be picked up by a parent. Jun Wuxia turned scarlet with rage and she pointed at Feng. You, how dare you? My brother will hear about this when he comes back. Feng gave Jun Wuxia a sympathetic look. After all these years, Jun Wuxia still hadn't figured it out. His Royal Highness had no brotherly love for her at all. Meanwhile, Jin Yuntao was worried sick. Guys, sorry for putting you through this. Jin Yuntao had no idea what to do. If his family knew that he had offended His Royal Highness, would his old man have a heart attack? As for Yuan Ming and Yi Zhou, the two of them weren't from the imperial capital. Where were they supposed to get a parent to pick them up? Everyone here on the 5th floor was either flustered or perturbed. With Feng Wu over his shoulder, Jun Linyuan went straight up to the top floor, beyond world. Thump. He kicked the door open. And he tossed Feng Wu onto a low couch. Ouch. Feng Wu hit her back when she landed and she almost burst into tears. She felt so offended. Jun Linyuan, have you lost your mind? Feng Wu was furious. Jun Linyuan stared at her grimly and smirked. You ignored all my warnings. What warnings? Feng Wu looked up and glared at Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan's tantrum made her flinch, but she felt more enraged than scared. I warned you to stay away from Feng Sun, but you just won't listen. Jun Linyuan enunciated each word, which felt like little daggers jabbing into Feng Wu's heart. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. I didn't do it on purpose. Feng Wu tried to explain. All you have are excuses and more excuses. What else do you have? Jun Lingyuan's face was livid and he said contemptuously, They say that beautiful women are the best liars and you're the biggest one. Bending down, Jun Lingyuan grabbed Feng Wu by the throat with one hand, as if he was going to snap her neck the next second. Overwhelmed with rage, Feng Wu thought she was going to lose her mind. What on earth did I do? What excuses have I made? And why am I the biggest liar? Tell me. Feng Wu felt so wronged. What had she ever done to deserve all this? She was very, very mad. Are you going to tell me that you didn't go to Feng Sun's place? Jun Lingyuan looked down at her coldly. And what's wrong with that? I need to buy a house and I went to him for help. He can help me, so what? Are you going to forbid that now? Feng Wu snapped. Is he the only one you can think of? You could have come to me. Jun Lingyuan bellowed. After that, a hush fell over the room. Feng Wu was baffled, and even Jun Lingyuan himself was baffled. It felt so awkward. Looking into Feng Wu's limpid eyes, the crown prince felt his heart skip a beat. Are you? Feng Wu asked tentatively. Don't flatter yourself. Of course I don't care about you. Jun Lingyuan smirked. I don't want you to bring harm to Feng Sun. That's all. That set Feng Wu off again. Why would I do that? With all the help he's given me, I'd only be nicer to him. Chapter 473, The Proud Crown Prince, 16. Chapter 473. The Proud Crown Prince, 16. What? She thought she wasn't nice enough to that guy before, and she was going to be nicer to him now? Jun Lingyuan was exasperated. He threw a dirty look at Feng Wu and turned to leave. Hey wait, where are you going? Feng Wu shouted after Jun Lingyuan. Despite how furious he was, Jun Lingyuan actually stopped. He turned around with a grim look on his face, which was rather intimidating. Are you going to hit Feng Sun again? Feng Wu rushed out and grabbed Jun Lingyuan. No, you can't do that. She was speaking up for another man now. Jun Lingyuan thought he was going to lose his mind. Brushing off Feng Wu's hands, he said in a soft, creepy voice, Don't worry. I won't hit him. I'm going to kill him. But Feng Sun was his childhood friend. He wouldn't do that, would he? Surely he was only saying that to frighten her. However, why was her heart still racing in fear? Feng Wu couldn't take the risk, for Jun Lingyuan was nuts. At that thought, Feng Wu grabbed Jun Lingyuan's arm and yelled, Stop! You're not going anywhere! Jun Lingyuan smirked, threw her hands off, and was going to march off. Feng Wu was exasperated. Poor Feng Sun. He had been beaten up twice by Jun Lingyuan already, and now a third time? She couldn't let that happen. Flustered, Feng Wu didn't have time to think straight. Sprinting toward Jun Lingyuan, she leapt onto Jun Lingyuan's back and wrapped her arms around his neck and her legs around his waist. No, I won't let you. Just then, Your Royal Highness! Lu Yun's voice came from outside. The door was open and she saw what was going on as soon as she came in. Lu Yun was astonished and she stood dazed on the spot. She could hear a rumbling sound in her head, as if she had just been struck by a thunderbolt. Her head went blank. His Royal Highness! His Royal Highness! Feng Wu! Feng Wu! A bitter taste filled her mouth and she was almost in tears. Get lost! With a wave of his hand, Lu Yun disappeared from sight, as if she had been blown away by a hurricane. Speechless, Feng Wu watched as Lu Yun fell from the building. Jun Lingyuan was so violent. To him, people weren't categorized into men and women, but into the strong and the weak. Clack! The door to Beyond World closed. The entire 10th floor was an open space with no extra walls. One could see the entire room at one glance. Jun Lingyuan could feel the soft body pressing against his back, and he went tense. Even someone as wise and powerful as him was a little nervous. He turned around and glared at Feng Wu. "Get down!" Frightened by Junli Nguyen's violent act, Feng Wu cringed and did as told. She stood still next to him. Lu Yun, who had been pushed out the door, fell all the way down from beyond world. Crash! She landed on the ground with a crushing sound. As the head of World Tower, Lu Yun was very well known. Not many people had met her before, but the sound was so loud that a lot of customers came out to have a look. Hence, someone soon recognized her. "Gosh, isn't that Master Lu Yun, the head of World Tower?" Lu Yun was pushed off the building? Oh my god! Who did it? Is World Tower under attack? To enter the lowest floor of World Tower, one had to be a 7th-ranked official or an owner of a medium-sized business at the very least. That was to say, only more influential personages had access to the higher floors. Chapter 474, The Proud Crown Prince, 17. Chapter 474, The Proud Crown Prince, 17. All the customers, from 7th-ranked officials to lords, were astonished. World Tower was seized by panic. However, with Feng around, it didn't last long enough to cause any actual damage. The old man stepped out and announced in a level voice, "His Royal Highness is in the middle of something. Please go back to your rooms and don't linger." Among the onlookers were viscounts and earls. Lord Wuan was one of them. All the others egged Lord Wuan on to probe into the situation. Lord Wuan went up to Feng and lowered his voice. "Mr. Feng, what did Boss Lu do? That was kind of harsh." Feng vented his sarcasm inwardly. "What do you think? She picked the wrong side. His Royal Highness will never forgive her for trying to cut Miss Wu's arm off." Of course, Feng kept all that to himself. Otherwise, his proud, sensitive young master would kill anyone that heard about it. Feng cleared his throat. "Lord Wuan, His Royal Highness doesn't like to be questioned." Reminded of Junli Nguyen's grim face, Lord Wuan flinched. Of course. I'm sure His Royal Highness has his own reasons." Dejected, Lord Wuan returned to his room in a hurry. "What did you hear? What did Master Lu do?" Lord Wuan was entertaining some guests today on the 8th floor, and among them were several viscounts and earls. Lord Wuan rubbed his chin. "His Royal Highness doesn't like it when other people stick their noses into his business. Gentlemen, let's just enjoy the meal." Actually, Lord Wuan only said that because he wasn't able to get any information. "I think His Royal Highness is in a foul mood," said the Earl of Yangling in a mysterious tone. "Why do you say that?" The others were surprised. "I was told that a girl offended His Royal Highness on the 5th floor, and that was why His Royal Highness lashed out at Master Lu Yun." "Who could have been bold enough to do that?" Lord Wuan cried out in surprise. Lu Yun herself was treated with great respect, to say nothing of the Crown Prince. These lords showed more reverence for the Crown Prince than for the Emperor. "What do you know about the Feng clan?" "You mean the one that used to be among the 9 major clans, but has since fallen beyond recognition?" "Yes, that one. They had this Feng Wu girl back then, remember? She was once His Royal Highness's fiancée. The Feng clan thought that with that genius daughter, they could rise to the top and get back into the 9 major clans. But that girl lost her talent and became a nobody." "I heard about that. Isn't that girl dead?" "She's not. I was told that she came back from northern border city, and she's the one who pissed off His Royal Highness on the 5th floor." "I see. His Royal Highness must have found her repulsive, and the head of World Tower was blamed for letting her in. Poor Master Lu Yun. She's innocent in this. We should remind the youngsters after we go back. Tell them to stay away from this Feng Wu, or they could be the next ones incriminated." "That's so true." Without knowing it, Lord Wuan had led his friends in a very wrong direction. And after those lords got back home, they led their offspring even further down that wrong path. We'll talk about that later. Lu Yun's mind went blank after she was pushed off the top floor. It was not until her body hit the ground and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Only then was she able to think straight again. It hurt. She wasn't dreaming. It had really happened. She had really seen Feng Wu straddling His Royal Highness's luo and he had pushed Luo Yun off the building in exasperation. Chapter 475, The Proud Crown Prince, 18. Chapter 475. The Proud Crown Prince, 18. To her, the Crown Prince was as superior and inviolable as the highest snow mountain, but he had let that girl climb onto his back? That girl straddled him. Lu Yun spat out another mouthful of blood. The physical pain was nothing compared with how she felt inside. Once the onlookers were dismissed, Feng looked down at Lu Yun with an impassive look on his face. Feng had known Lu Yun since she was little, and he saw how hard she had struggled to rise to this position from when they had found her as a mere beggar on the street. Mr. Feng, His Royal Highness and Feng Wu. They. Tears rolled down Lu Yun's cheek. Feng shook his head. It seemed that Lu Yun was no longer fit for this position as the head of World Tower. Mr. Feng, did you know all along? Lu Yun asked between broken sobs as tears streaked her face. She felt too defeated to stand up. So what if she looked pathetic? What did she care now? Her world had just collapsed. Feng sighed. I warned you before. But you were jealous and blinded by your personal agenda. You thought you could fool others. Mr. Feng, You're no longer fit for World Tower. Feng gave his verdict. Go back to the Imperial Guards. Mr. Feng, Lu Yun was genuinely scared. She had given all she had and put in so much painstaking effort to stand out among all the talented people in the Imperial Guards. She had come a long way from when she had been a mere slave. However, she was going to lose everything because of one tiny selfish act. I won't accept it. Lu Yun wasn't convinced. Crossing his hands behind his back, Feng looked up at the clear blue sky. You might be able to hide your selfish motives from others, but Miss Feng Wu isn't someone you can offend without consequences. Feng shook his head. Even Princess Jun Wuxia had to wait here for a parent to pick her up, not to mention a mere employee like Lu Yun. What was there to argue about? No matter how reluctant Lu Yun was, the Crown Prince didn't believe in second chances. Hence, Lu Yun was sent back to the Imperial Guards and Lu Yu was made the new head of World Tower. The only reminder Feng gave Lu Yu was, offend His Royal Highness, you might be spared, but you'll want to double-check how you got this job if you want to mess with Miss Feng Wu. Lu Yu wanted to ask for a further explanation, but Feng only shook his head. Don't ask why. We can easily find a replacement for you if you can't figure it out. Lu Yu nodded obediently in a hurry. Meanwhile, up on Beyond World, Feng Wu and Jun Linyuan were in an awkward situation. Jun Linyuan wanted to leave, but Feng Wu had grabbed his belt from behind. She would follow him wherever he went. Jun Linyuan was speechless. He couldn't help but look over his shoulder and glare at Feng Wu. Are you a dog? Let go of my belt. Feng Wu was so afraid that Jun Linyuan would go after Feng Sun again, although she still couldn't figure out why he was doing it in the first place. Her reasoning was that Jun Linyuan was a sadist. Gingerly looking up at Jun Linyuan, Feng Wu only wrapped her fingers tighter around his belt. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything. From this angle, Feng Wu looked as adorable and cuddly as a puppy. However, he flared up again when he recalled all the things she had done. Are you that worried about Feng Sun? Jun Linyuan asked grumpily. No, of course not. Feng Wu's glistening eyes reminded him of a doe. I just don't want to see your Royal Highness hurt your hands. Chapter 476, The Proud Crown Prince, 19. Chapter 476, The Proud Crown Prince, 19. Although she had no idea why Jun Linyuan wanted to beat Feng Sun up, it was always a good idea to butter him up. Because Feng Wu had realized something very important. Before she was powerful enough, she wouldn't be able to protect all the people she wanted to protect. She couldn't even protect herself. Hence, until she could do that, she needed to find the biggest kid on the playground. She had thought that Feng Sun was good enough to solve all her problems, but as it turned out today, when Jun Linyuan the Fiend was around, Feng Sun was a mere punching bag. So, maybe she should switch to Jun Linyuan instead? Although, he looked too unfriendly to be an ideal protector. But everyone was afraid of him, and he seemed to be her only option. The more Feng Wu thought about it, the more upset she became. Shoulders drooping, she heaved a sigh. Jun Linyuan was a little nonplussed by Feng Wu's words, and somehow, his anger dissipated. Instead, he stared at Feng Wu and said awkwardly, "I see you've learned. You're sweet-talking me now." Seriously? Jun Linyuan wasn't mad anymore. An idea came to Feng Wu all of a sudden, but it disappeared as fast as it appeared. Jun Linyuan patted Feng Wu on her head, then rubbed her hair. He liked the feel of it. Feng Wu looked past what Jun Linyuan was doing with his hand and her eyes sparkled. "You'll cut Feng Sun loose, won't you? Oh, can you maybe let Jin Yuntao go as well? Please? He only got into a fight with Yi Yifei because he was helping me. His family will freak out and they'll think he offended you if you ask his parents to pick him up." Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu. "Why do you care about other men so much? As if you Minji and Feng Sun weren't enough, there was this Jin Yuntao now? Are you going to hit on everyone?" Jun Linyuan glowered at Feng Wu. "Oh no, here we go again." Feng Wu stumbled back. Jun Linyuan pressed her. "Speak. Do you like them that much?" "I don't. I don't like any of them that way," Feng Wu said proudly. "Who do you like then?" Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu. "No one. The only one that Feng Wu cared about now was her white-clad, elegant master." Jun Linyuan snorted. He didn't like that answer, but he didn't hate it either. "Can you let them go, please? Just Jin Yuntao and his friends." Tugging at Jun Linyuan's sleeve, Feng Wu looked at him with pleading eyes. The Crown Prince was defeated by her doe eyes. He raised his chin. "Are you begging me now?" Feng Wu nodded in a hurry. "Yes, of course. How spineless." Jun Linyuan jabbed Feng Wu's forehead with a finger. "Fine, I'll let all of them go." "No, you can't," Feng Wu said in a hurry. "Just Jin Yuntao, his friends, and Feng Sun. Not Mu Yao Yao and the others. They'll have to be picked up by their parents." Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu with an open mouth. Feng Wu nodded at him earnestly. "I mean it." The girl was so good at bearing grudges. Jun Linyuan said grumpily, "Why should I listen to you? Who are you to me? I'm not following your orders. I'll do whatever I want." Jun Linyuan, Feng Wu said in a saccharine voice as she swayed his arm back and forth. "Boss Jun, your Royal Highness, my dear Crown Prince Jun. Stop talking like that." Jun Linyuan cast a stern look at her. Feng Wu pouted and looked at him in grievance. Chapter 477, The Proud Crown Prince, 20. Chapter 477, The Proud Crown Prince, 20. "I'm so fed up with you." "Fine. Your request is granted." The Crown Prince feigned an impatient tone. Feng Wu was thrilled. She had never expected Jun Linyuan to be so easily persuaded. The guy must be in a great mood today. Yes. Today was her lucky day. After the order was given. "What?" Mu Yaoyao's head went blank after she heard the news. She stared at the new head of World Tower in disbelief. "Why can Feng Sun leave?" "No, I mean, I understand why young Lord Feng can leave, but why Jin Yuntao and those two? I won't accept it." Lu Yu, the new head, had been warned by Feng. She knew perfectly well how Lu Yun had lost her job, and she was going to make sure that she chose the right side, that was, Feng Wu's side. As for someone like Princess Mu Yaoyao, that was a different story. Lu Yu smiled. I'm sorry, Princess Mu, but I'm only following orders here. I won't accept it. Where's Master Lu Yun? Why are you here? Mu Yaoyao was flustered. Lu Yu was smirking inwardly. Lu Yun? She was long gone. Lu Yu said calmly, Master Lu Yun has been transferred to another post. From now on, I'm in charge of World Tower. Moreover, we have informed the Mu family of what is going on here. I believe that your family will soon arrive to pick you up. She then went up to Jin Yuntao and his friends. This time, her tone was very affable and she smiled warmly. Mr. Jin, you're free to go. After Lu Yu saw them off, Jin Yuntao and the other two were still eyeing one another in bewilderment. Their heads were spinning. Especially Yi Zhou and Yuan Ming, who had feared that the school would learn about this and expel them. As it turned out, the problem had been solved just like that. By the way, here are some gifts for you. We apologize for putting you all through this, so please accept this as compensation. The 3 gifts were wrapped exquisitely, which indicated how valuable they were. This, Jin Yuntao hesitated and didn't dare accept it. Were they trying to set him up? He couldn't be so lucky. Lu Yu smiled. 3 young masters, please accept the gift. They're just a little something for World Tower having kept you here for such a long time. This was the new head of World Tower. Lu Yun, the previous one, had been so haughty and unapproachable, but wasn't this one a little too friendly? Jin Yuntao and the other 2 eyed one another in utter confusion. However, he would never dare refuse a gift from World Tower. He was talking to a figure that even his father would treat with great respect. Jin Yuntao had no choice but to take the so-called compensation with both hands. Yi Zhou and Yuan Ming followed suit. They were still a little dizzy when they left World Tower. Yi Zhou asked, "We were cut loose just like that?" Yuan Ming asked, "We came out without a scratch?" Jin Yuntao scratched his head. "I think so?" Yi Zhou and Yuan Ming turned to Jin Yuntao in bewilderment. "What on earth happened? Did your family talk to World Tower or something?" Jin Yuntao smiled bitterly. "My family is all right, but we're nobody compared to all the influential clans in the imperial capital. My dad is the highest-ranking official in my clan, but even he isn't important enough to meet the head in person, not to mention." Chapter 478, The Proud Crown Prince, 21. Chapter 478. The Proud Crown Prince, 21. Not to mention that His Royal Highness gave the order himself. No one would be bold enough to defy him. Jin Yuntao gave them a wry smile. Who else could it be? How about Miss Feng Wu? Yi Zhou suggested. Could Miss Feng Wu have pleaded to His Royal Highness for us? It's possible. She's so beautiful. Jin Yuntao and Yuan Ming gave Yi Zhou a "you idiot" look. Yi Zhou recanted after another thought. No, that can't be it. Miss Feng Wu doesn't have any cultivation ability. There's no way that His Royal Highness. He's too superior for any mortal girl. Jin Yuntao and Yuan Ming nodded in unison. If Feng Wu hadn't had that mishap 5 years ago, maybe she would be a suitable companion for His Royal Highness, but now, sigh. Yuan Ming said, Miss Lu Yu was so kind to us, I don't think she'd set us up. Plus, compared with the Great World Tower, what can we possibly have that's worth setting us up for? Yi Zhou nodded happily. You're right. Can we unwrap the gifts now? I really want to know what it is. After that, Yuan Ming and Yi Zhou opened the boxes eagerly. When they saw what was inside, OMG! Yuan Ming cried out in surprise. In the boxes were some big, round, and smooth spiritual stones that were very dense in spiritual essence. Yuan Ming's eyes widened. A- are they medium-grade spiritual stones? Yi Zhou snapped, Are you blind? How can they be medium-grade? They're top-grade. Moreover, they had been given 3 stones each. Holy shit! I remember that only the student with the highest mark in the final exams is awarded a top-grade spiritual stone, right? You can't buy them just anywhere. Their prices are exorbitantly high in auction houses. And we were given 3 each. World Tower is indeed as rich as it's said to be. The 3 of them didn't think much of it. They went off to cultivate together shortly afterward. Mu Yaoyao saw Lu Yu walk Jin Yuntao out, but she didn't know that the 3 teenagers had gone off with gifts. If she did, she would probably get a stroke. On the 5th floor, Jun Wuxia's face was livid. Feng Sun was gone and so were Jin Yuntao and his friends. However, she, a royal princess, was still here. She jumped to her feet. However, she was stopped at the door. Feng wasn't here. He didn't need to be around for such a petty task. Lu Yu was the one who stopped Jun Wuxia. Go away! Jun Wuxia yelled at Lu Yu. How dare you block my way? I'm going to kill you! Jun Wuxia wouldn't try to leave if Feng Sun, Jin Yuntao, and the other 2 hadn't left, but now she felt humiliated. She was sure that her brother didn't know about this. Those servants were behind this. Lu Yu looked at Jun Wuxia and said in a calm voice, I'm sorry, Your Royal Highness, but you're not going anywhere until someone comes to pick you up. Then why could they leave? Jun Wuxia went scarlet with rage. Mu Yaoyao and Yi Yifei pricked up their ears. Lu Yu smiled. An important figure put in a good word for them, which is why they were free to go. Who was that person? Jun Wuxia asked hastily. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.